Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Welcome everybody this morning. Got kind of a full house today for a change, which is always good to see. Somebody thought maybe that it was an all candidates meeting, but I had to tell the deputy mayor that no, we're not at that level just as of yet. If you could, let's please rise and we'll take a moment of reflection before we start the meeting. Business of the meeting. Thank you. Number 3 on our agenda this morning is, declaration of pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof from any of the members of council. Anybody have any pecuniary general nature? Seeing none, of course, if it does arise, can be declared at any time. Thank you. We do have a bit of housekeeping, and Sheila, you're in the back there. There will be probably a few people joining in online this morning. So Sheila, if you can give us the update on how to access that if there's any difficulties. Sheila?
Through you, Mayor Eccles. Before I begin, if you get disconnected, you can dial 1-647-558-0588 and enter meeting ID 891-5626-2480. It should be noted for members of the public that this meeting is being held in 2 locations, on Zoom as well as being live streamed on YouTube. Both members of staff and council have been briefed on the various features of the Zoom meeting software. Members of council and staff will be raising their hands to speak. For members of the public, if you require any technical assistance at any point during this meeting, you can send a chat message to me, Sheila Ferguson, Communications Coordinator, and I will attempt to assist you.
Thank you, Sheila. Appreciate that. We do have 3 delegations this morning. Our procedural bylaw, that's the max that we can have, and we have that today. So I will start. And Sheila, do we have, I think the first presenter is online. We have Nancy Shaw, President and CEO of the South Bruce Grey Health Centre, to give us an update on the South Bruce Grey. And I'm looking and thinking, good day, sir, but I don't think that's Nancy Shaw. There's Nancy Shaw.
My apologies. I was having some trouble connecting my audio.
No problem. You're here with us today. And thank you very much for joining us and giving us the time. And I'm going to say the floor is yours, Nancy.
Great. Thank you so much. And thank you again for the opportunity to provide a communication update from South Bruce Grey Health Centre, specifically on the Durham site. So move to the next slide. Today, I also have with me Megan Legg, who is our Director of Quality and Engagement, as well as Jim Bagshaw, our Board Chair. So as we think about our provincial healthcare landscape, certainly many of us have seen in the news that staffing shortages continue to make headlines, not just specifically in this area, but certainly across the province. There continues to be a critical health human resources shortage. And rural hospitals across the country are struggling to keep their emergency departments open. Next slide. So we continue to do everything that we can to recruit and retain staff. Certainly, we're looking at reviewing nursing models of care whenever a new suggestion comes forward. We participate in provincial nursing strategies and initiatives as they become available from the province. We bolster our recruitment efforts. We attend job fairs. We certainly go into schools when the opportunity presents. And we continue to be innovative and try to look for ways around recruitment processes and what we can do to retain the staff that we do have. But it simply comes down to the fact there are not enough nurses in the healthcare system across the province. Next slide. So right now, just to give you a snapshot of where South Bruce Gray Health Center stands, we have 28.5 full-time nursing vacancies across all of our 4 sites. So that's a very significant number. Next slide. So the emergency department is the most challenging part of the hospital to staff, because in order to safely operate the emerge, you need specialized, experienced registered nurses and emergency medicine physicians to work in those areas. So it's difficult to recruit RNs to small rural emergency departments due to low volumes and small team structure. It's a very different environment versus a larger center. As a result of ongoing staffing challenges and the lack of available staff, we've had to reduce emergency department services many times over the summer and across specifically 3 of our sites. And certainly Durham has seen the impact of our staffing shortages. Next slide. So despite our efforts to recruit and retain more staff, we continue to have really low resources that remain strained when it comes to health human resources. Next slide. So we need long-term solutions. We know we can't continue with this type of open and closed situation that continues to happen. The community, all of our communities, deserve to have access to health care that is sustainable and consistent. So we need long-term solutions. So right now we're focusing on stabilizing all of our sites as we continue to provide high quality and safe care for our communities that they can have confidence in. And as a result of the temporary cycle of closures, we are engaging and continue to engage Ontario Health on both shorter and long-term solutions. In the last few weeks, we did have a recent funding announcement around P4R funding that we did achieve, and we're using that funding to support the use of agency nurses in our emergency department. Despite that, we continue to try to onboard agency nurses to fill the numerous vacancies that we have. So we continue to be in that process right now, and we're hoping to bring on more nurses again this week. But it's a significant number that we require in order to fill all the staffing gaps. So agency nurses are not a long-term solution. However, it will minimize the number of ED services closures in the short term. Next slide. We want to send the message out that our patients and our people remain our top priority, and we are committed to providing safe and reliable health care in all 4 of the communities we serve. And we will continue to work on solutions for today and into the future. Next slide. So happy to answer any questions, and I'll open it up.
Thank you very much, Nancy, and I'll open it up for council. Any council members have questions? Councillor Townsend. Doug?
Great. Thank you. And thank you, Nancy, for your presentation. Couple questions come to mind. We see a lot of ER closures in Chesley, Durham, Walkerton occasionally, but we never see any ER closures in Kincardine. Why would that be? They're all part of the same system. What's happening in Kincardine that they never seem to lose their ER, but all the other communities seem to? Or is there, you know, you hate to say it, but do you rank your hospitals as to how you want to move your staff around, or is it an influence of money, or what causes the Kincardine to stand out as one that doesn't seem to close?
You are correct. Kincardine has not had to close this summer. They have come close on several occasions. But the difference with Kincardine, excuse me, is it is the most stabilized site from a staffing perspective out of the 4 that we have. And why it is the most stabilized is there are specific sites that nurses can work in, and Kincardine staffing for their specific site is stronger, and it is more stable. Now, out of all 4 of our sites, they do see the highest number from an emerge volume, and I'm not sure if that has something specifically to do with why the staffing seems to be more stabilized. but certainly it is recognized that it is site specific from a union perspective. So what that means is you work in Kincardine, you don't work in other sites. We have some dual site nurses, but it's dictated by the union on site specificness of nursing staff. So that's why Kincardine hasn't closed this summer, and certainly does have a more stabilized staffing model, but they've come very, very close on several occasions.
Thank you. Further, Doug? Go ahead.
Further, one more question. I'll do one more question. And understanding, Nancy, you have come on board and inherited a bit of a hornet's nest. But again, for people in this area, we see the closures again in Durham and Chesley and Walkerton, but yet we never hear of a closure in Hanover. We never hear of a closure or periodic closures in Mount Forest, Markdale, a lot of the other surrounding municipalities. So what are those hospitals doing, those hospital administrations doing differently that they're attracting and keeping staff and keeping their ERs open? And is there a model or something there that you guys, like, do you guys talk to them? And is there a model or something there that you can learn from and maybe stabilize more of the South Bruce Grey system?
Great question. So I do have ongoing conversations with Hanover District Hospital and certainly Bright Shores as well. At the beginning of the summer, we did put out a joint press release indicating that we did predict there would be summer closures intermittently throughout our sites. And really, when I speak to them, they come very close on occasion as well. I can't speak specifically to Bright Shores when I've asked them if they've got anything that is innovative from a model of care perspective. They aren't doing anything different than we are. They just have a greater nursing pool to pull from. When we look at Hanover specifically, Hanover is a great example of a consolidated site. So they're one site. They have everything in one site. So they have a greater nursing pool. So that is why they're able to stay open. And again, the conversations I've had with the CEO, they have come close as well to closure, but they're not staffing 4 different sites with Emerge nurses. They're staffing 1. So that's the major difference specifically with Hanover. But we have ongoing communications. I had direct communications with the CEO, and our board chair actually has ongoing communications with their board chairs as well.
Thank you. Councillor Hutchison. Doug?
Yes, thanks, Nancy, for your presentation. It is a concerning situation. I heard a piece the other night, it was on TV, about nursing situation, and it was they seem to be saying that the part of the issue is that some of our nurses are going to private. You talk about using the short-term temporary services. People are going to private because they make more money, the nurses, and then they come back into our system and they're working at a higher rate than what our own nurses are being paid. So as a council, first of all, I guess my question is, do you see that as an issue where people are leaving our public system to go to private because of the dollars? And as a council, is it possible that maybe we should be looking at lobbying our government to try to increase wages? I know it's an issue across the board in many areas, increase wages for our nurses that might help the situation. Thank you.
No, I believe it is a concern. I mean, agency nurses make close to 3 times the amount of a regular nurse. So if you're working along someone and doing the exact same job, you can see how that would be very disappointing and certainly not good for morale. So it is an issue across the province as well. And you're right, there was a documentary or a news bulletin on the shortage of staff, but also where are they going? And it is attractive and it is lucrative. They can go and work and get 3 times the money and pick and choose when they want to work and where they want to work. As far as the wage issue with our current nurses, they have received substantial increases, which they deserved through ONA and OPSU most recently, and through the adjustment of Bill 124. But the agency nurse situation is going to continue to be a problem across the province, and it needs to be addressed somehow, but that's through the government lens, obviously, and bringing it forward through attention and awareness is key, because it's a shift that is not positive from a nursing perspective at all.
No, thank you. That's all I wanted this time. Thank you.
One more, Joyce, Councillor Noon.
Thank you. And thank you, Nancy, for your presentation. You had mentioned that your unions really kind of limit rotations of your nursing staff, but it's very unfortunate when 3 of your hospitals are all closed at the same time. So if you have any way of administering a better process of getting nurses to move and rotate, at least having one more hospital open through the weekends and the evenings would be substantial for the public. And I'm just reaching out to you to try to prioritize that in your next
Yes.
meetings. Thank you.
So just to follow up on that, so we have ongoing conversations with the union, and we do put shifts out to staff that say, you know what, we know you don't work here, but can you help us out? We'll pay you double time, and we still can't fill those shifts. So we do have site-specific nurses, but we always do put the ask out as well. Can you please help us? I know you don't work there. We'll give you orientation, and still staff don't want to change and move. So it's part of, yes, the union provides limitations as well, but we also go above what's with our ask, and certainly try to be incentivize it with compensation, and we still can't get that movement, but we continue to have those conversations, and it will remain a priority, recognizing that we can't have these ongoing closures.
Thank you for that answer. But further to that, what about the doctors? What if the doctors would even rotate? Like, even if you have one nurse, at least it's something for the public for services.
No, for sure. And physicians are not employees of the hospital. They're actually independent contractors. And I have put out an ask to them to help out wherever they can. And our chief of staff, Dr. Roth, has encouraged our physicians on an ongoing basis. Please, can you help? And she continues to work through that process with the physician group, but we have been putting out those asks as well.
Deputy Mayor Hutchison, Tom?
Thank you, Mayor Echols, and good morning, and thank you very much for your presentation, Nancy. I just wanted to basically let you know that the PDAC, which is the Planning and Economic Development at the Grey County, as well as our latest county strat plan, we've recognized the need here. And so I just want to let you know that we're looking at any and all options to help out with fulfilling the, obviously the lack of nurses and doctors. And I guess one of the other things I want to say, it's not going to be immediate, but with the Grey County endorsing and supporting the Georgian College grad program, hopefully we're going to see some things change again. That's not going to be immediate, but I think the future, we have some plans for the future anyways. Thank you.
Great to hear. Thank you for sharing.
No more questions? You're off the hook there. Nancy, thank you very much. Great to see you. I will give a little caveat. Great to see you out on Saturday night at the Durham Hospital Foundation fundraising dinner and Boots and Bling. I hope you enjoy everything that you purchased as well at the auction. And further to that, is something that certainly isn't just a Grey Bruce problem. Yesterday, there was 10,000 signatures, I believe, delivered at the legislature in Ontario for the Minden hospital in that, or the medical center there, being closed on a number of occasions. And as you're very well aware, and I think everybody is, that it's something certainly across the province here in rural municipalities or small urbans that we have this deficiency of professionals to keep this going. So good luck. We'll be watching, and as Deputy Mayor said, hopefully there's some actions and plans in place to resolve this issue and keep our cornerstone of our municipalities open and functioning for the community safety and health. So thank you very much, Nancy.
Thank you. I appreciate everyone's time, and happy to come back anytime to provide further updates and answer any questions that may arise. So I appreciate this opportunity. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you. Okay. And again, oops, she's got none. Nope. Thank you. It's very similar to every political corner. Yes, this is a council meeting. It's not a public meeting. So the corporation, through our procedural bylaw and the municipal act. Certainly, yes. Yep. We're going on now to 4.2 on the agenda this morning. We have a delegation from Brian Shank and Eric Saunders, I believe, are here. Is there? Yep, there's Eric. And Earthworks West Grey, dealing with the West Grey climate change. Welcome this morning. And is the microphone working there?
You're good.
Well, we've got that problem. Welcome. Eric. Introduce yourselves for the record.
Good morning and thank you. Thank you for having us. I think most of us know each other, but for those of you who don't, Brian Shank and I live in beautiful downtown Ayton. Tom and Joyce are my neighbors. And this is Eric Saunders, and Eric is from Glenelg. We're representing Earthworks this morning. First, we apologize for the misnomer on this slide. After reading the staff report included in the agenda, we understand that the correct title for the plan is Corporate Climate Action Plan, and that the focus is on climate action for the Corporation of West Grey. Next slide. Earthworks is a citizens climate action group centered in West Grey. Our climate action community is now 85 strong and growing. We are here today to talk to you about the Climate Change Act action plan that was developed with West Grey staff and council in 21-22 and presented to council in February of this year. Next slide. West Grey is an important part of Grey County and can contribute a significant amount of local greenhouse gas reductions, as well as supporting Grey County's Green in Grey climate action plan in the community. By retrofitting corporate buildings and rationalizing the amount of fuel used for corporate transportation, West Grey can mitigate significant amounts of carbon dioxide emissions. Next slide. We applaud staff for all the work they have done to date on corporate climate change, mitigation, and adaptation, including all the work put into this plan. Since we watched the presentation by ICLEI in February, we have been waiting patiently for it to be adopted. Next slide. The West Grey plan indicates alignment with Grey County CCAP Climate Change Action Plan on page 42. And the measures already taken in West Grey show that we are starting on the right path. Earthworks recommends that council show leadership in Grey County by adopting the plan now, support staff in their efforts to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, aim to support the match Grey County's goal, 30% reduction of GHG by 2030, 40% by reduction of corporate GHG by 2030, and net zero community GHG emissions by 2050. We understand that implementation will take time, but the sooner we start, the more cost effective this process will be, because everybody knows the cost of construction and vehicles and everything else is just skyrocketing. Some examples include for the community, the installation of electric vehicle chargers. And I know that we have 3 now. Helps support people who want to purchase an electric vehicle and also people coming into our community with electric vehicles. Further community support might include links on the West Grey website, directing people to federal grants and loans that they can get if they want to increase their home's energy efficiency. Next slide. Existing building energy retrofits. Earthworks recommends that these be a focus of West Grey. Can be done incrementally as we can afford it. Results in energy cost savings realized very quickly. Affords work to local labor, keeps the dollars in the community. Results in easily measured GHG emissions reductions. Just a little aside, I just noticed in the men's washroom, the switch is not motion activated. If it were, it would save us money and people would not leave it turned on. Next slide. Waste diversion and reduction. A second recommendation is a focus on waste management through community education and corporate actions. We applaud the addition of plastic film and polystyrene recycling in the past 3 years. Also a win-win since landfill space is at a premium. Lower emission vehicles. Third recommendation, end-of-life vehicle replacement by hybrids of EVs where feasible and safe. And walk around this morning, I just noticed that the library vehicle is a gas-powered van, and that would be an ideal place to put an electric vehicle because it's not involving long-distance travel or safety. Grants, loans from the federal government and the Federation of Canadian Municipalities are available to help with this. In September, the city of Brantford received $195,000 to study ways to reduce GHG emissions at the Wayne Gretzky Center, an arena, and their civic center. Guelph received $15 million to distribute to residents who want to improve the energy efficiency of their homes. And the regional municipality of Waterloo received $67,200 to study 2 scenarios for reducing GHGs in 4 community buildings. Next slide. Can we answer any questions for you?
I will see whether there are any questions from council. But before that, thank you very much for the presentation. Great information. Any questions from council members at this point in time? Councillor Shea, Jeff?
Thank you, Mayor. And thanks, Brian, for the presentation, and Eric, and to all of the members of your organization and the people who aren't members who have been laboring to advance this initiative over the last several years. Last time we had a crowd, one of the last times we had a crowd this big in the council chambers, this was an issue that we were talking about. I think that was 4 years ago. So I just wanted to applaud you and all of the people who have gotten us this far. I think the municipality is at the right juncture, and it's about to make the step to start putting all these plans into action. So thanks.
And thank you for having us.
There we go. Thank you very much, Eric and Brian. And now we have a second delegation. Lucy Leon. There's Lucy. I can turn up my voice, but that's the best that I can do. Well, we don't have a professional that would tell us that this building has a capacity, and we may be slightly over it. So thank you for accommodating as well as you have. Let me put it that way. And yeah. Anyways, Lucy Leone. Sorry. Gray button on the mic there.
Thank you.
And give us your name for the record.
Yes, Lucy Leone, I'm in Durham.
And the floor is yours.
I'm sorry, thank you.
And the floor is yours.
Good morning, Mayor Eccles, council members, and community friends. I'm here today speaking as a member of our community. My interest is not political, and I ask you please to listen from your heart, because today I'll be speaking from mine. I have a few questions throughout also that we'd like to have answered. If you could maybe arrange to have them answered maybe by the end of the month or something. Is that possible?
Just just a second, Lucy. I've got somebody that's filming.
Filming.
It's not allowed, Derek. Dieter, sorry. Yeah. It will be, the film will be on YouTube. It is already being recorded. And it's under the investment. Thank you, Dieter. Yeah, sorry, Lucy. Go ahead.
Yes, okay. So yes, could we have those questions answered by, say, October 31st or something, rather than dealing with it now? Okay. And you've all received the videos, documents, and scientific data that we sent out, a package. Okay, so I'll be speaking sort of pardon?
Yes.
I'll be
that was-
referring
that
to
was
some of
included
that.
in the package, in the
Great.
council package. Yes, all of them are there.
Okay, so while you make your decision on this climate change action plan, we'd like you to consider two things. One is obedience. The definition of obedience is doing what you are told to do, regardless of what is right. Morality is doing what is right, regardless of what you are told. The plan, actually, it reads Climate Change Action Plan. It's a little misleading. The climate is in action. So if the climate is in action, there's no emergency. Proof has been sent to all of you this week to prove that there is no emergency. Yet you want to implement a plan spanning 25 years plus, a plan that threatens to take away our very breath, a plan that threatens our fundamental human rights and freedoms, freedom of speech, freedom of choice, freedom of movement, freedom of association, and freedom of assembly, and so on. No, we will not go along.
one more thing. Any more outbursts and we'll clear the chambers, please. Thank you, Lucy.
Thank you. It seems the climate emergency is a tactic to draw us into fear. Again, we're not going. In the first page of the plan, the municipality states, human activity, namely the burning of fossil fuels, is the primary driver accelerating the rise of global temperatures. They're blaming us for the whole thing. That's absolutely ludicrous. They go on to say that the warming is twice as fast in Canada as the global rate, and the Canadian Arctic, which is warming 3 times faster than the global rate. All barefaced lies. I went to the site where Canada has posted that, and there's no way to substantiate that. So I don't know where Dr. Patrick Moore actually will show something that proves that is absolutely wrong. It's a fact that geoengineering is and has been being used in effect to affect the weather. In 1966, Professor Gordon MacDonald, the Associate Director of the Institute of Geophysics and Planetary Physics at the University of California, wrote on environmental control technologies that cause weather manipulation, climate modification, polar ice cap melting or destabilization, ozone depletion techniques, earthquake engineering, ocean wave control, brainwave manipulation using climate energy fields. So to say that humans are the creator of some made up situation called climate emergency is absurd. And this attack on people is in order to save corporations who are the very manufacturers of pollution and toxicity, the destroyers of a healthy ecosystem. It's nuts. What kind of monster would create such a plan? And what kind of monster would approve such a plan that threatens our human rights and freedoms? The ICLEI is at the bottom of the plan, one of them anyway. This is an international non-governmental organization. Non-governmental organization. They're out of Bonn, Germany. Why are we taking orders, I should say guidance, from Bonn, Germany? Why would we adopt this plan? We didn't vote them in. They're not voted in. We didn't vote for them. Turns out the UN and the Agenda 2030 is at play here. It's a worldwide plan to lure, trap, and control human beings. This plan, if this plan is carried out, it would suspend all of our freedoms once they've introduced, or rather forced, such current global initiatives as 15-minute cities, medical mandates, 24/7 surveillance, bio-digital IDs, and central bank digital currencies. We realize, actually we know, we always have the right to say no. And this plan is not law. It is not law. It's just an offering, like, let's go to lunch. We don't want to. We say no. This plan, we know there that there is an imbalance. We get it. And we get the job that you folks have to come up with to approve or not approve. There's an imbalance in the ecosystem, but we are not on an individual level responsible. It's being tampered with and manipulated, and that's the reason. The plan goes on and proposes to get rid of gas, gasoline, diesel, propane, petroleum, and wood. Any truckers in here, you know nothing can be hauled without diesel. And our homes, in winter, we'd all die without them. Can the electric grid hold the power that would come if everybody went to electricity? Just think about it. Would you approve something like this? Again, your job is to consider obedience or morality. It suggests that we all get EVs, electric vehicles. Very noble to find something like this, but we have no choice if that's the case. It's a dirty energy that powers them. While they have no emission, these vehicles are fatally dangerous. The batteries have limited span, and there is no way to destroy them or dispose of them, I should say. The cobalt that's used in the batteries is a deadly toxin to handle or breathe. And I believe you have the videos and the statements on all that. Thank you. It's immoral how that is coming about. They catch fire easily, and fires cannot easily be put out. They're not dependable in winter, and we have 6 months of it. The mining of cobalt for the battery is inhumane and basic slavery. This is not the answer. Cobalt is a finite resource, whereas fossil fuels are found globally and readily available. The system is already in place. Is electricity the answer? Can the electrical grid generate and transmit enough power to support everything? I don't think so. Down to CO2. This was laughable, really. Carbon dioxide is vital to every living, breathing being on the planet. It's without plants, trees, we have no oxygen. It's a back and forth. We breathe in oxygen and we breathe out carbon dioxide. Everybody wins. If you do away with that, everybody's going to die. How could anyone suggest that CO2 is the enemy? In UN Agenda 23 wants net zero carbon emissions by 2050. If you think just for a minute, net zero could possibly mean death to all of us. Not a good plan. Carbon, we're all made of carbon, all of us, everything on this planet. As it says in the dictionary, carbon has many economic uses, but its unique significance is that its compounds are the physical basis of all living organisms. Oxford Dictionary reference. So again, no, can you stand by this plan? You're going to stand with obedience or morality? To approve this plan is unashamed foolishness. There is no proof, scientific or otherwise, that there is a climate emergency. The globe is cooling, and there is proof in the package that I sent you. We need to go back to nature. The planet is generated by nature. We are nature. We need to support the healthy ecosystem where plants, trees, meadows, and streams all work together with insects, worms, birds, animals, and humans. As far as animals pooping and peeing on land and people want to change their diet and give them diapers, that's what creates the beautiful soil that allows us to have beautiful fresh vegetables. Classic soil science. Humus is the dark organic matter in soil that is formed by the decomposition of plant and animal matter. It's necessary for us to live. We completely get that there's an imbalance in the ecosystem that affects weather. We need to remember that weather, climate, and climate change, just like the seasons. Nothing stays the same. When you go to nature and rely on nature and use that system, rather than attempt over and over to manipulate and control her, creating multiple mounting issues that leave a stain on the planet. We need to work with nature, not against her. Look at the turbines, for instance, the wind turbines. It rapes the land of moisture, sending off insects, worms, wildlife, and birds. It's turned into a desert. That land can no longer be used. There is inefficient and costly. They are inefficient and costly. They too have a limited lifespan. Also, the sprawling subdivisions slam down cement and brick, take away grasslands and trees. No thing will ever grow there again. And most definitely, These two things, for instance, destroy the ecosystem, which affects the weather. This plan is neither green nor democratic. If you decide to adopt this plan, we completely do not comply. If you choose to adopt even partially this plan, we will not comply. We will not comply with what is meant to cause harm. We oppose anything that forces communities under guidance from the government, the federal government, or the United Nations to engage in sustainable development that ultimately harms animals, us, green belts, forests, and streams. One final question. And this we'd like an answer to for sure. What is the corporation that you are a part of, and who are the shareholders? And I'm going to leave you with maybe 150, they're still coming actually, signed letters, people opposing this on a moral count. Where would you like them? So thank you very much for your time today.
And thank you very much for the presentation. I think that's what democracy is the ability to meet in public, to join in and be able to have those discussions openly and freely.
Yes, thank you.
On various opinions.
Thank you very much.
And it's difficult at times on some of those for council to choose the right direction to support the majority. And that's what we're elected here to do. So thank you for the information, and it will guide us taking in note and going forward.
Very good, thank you.
Thank
Any
you.
questions, you have my information.
Okay, very good. Okay. All right, that's it for delegations. Brings us down then to number 5 on our agenda this morning, public meetings. I do not believe we have any public meetings scheduled. Comment period. On our agenda and whatnot, we have a comment period. Maximum of 2 minutes per person is allotted for comments with a maximum of 10 minutes on the agenda. If you do have a comment, I'd please ask you to come to the podium. And as I said, it's 2 minutes per speaker with a maximum of 10 in this session. There you are, you're up. And yep, you're there. If you could give your name, please, and proceed.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Lydia Dick. I'm from Durham, Ontario. I'm going to try really hard not to cry. I agree that we should be talking heart to heart. Yet, I believe we should also be talking information to information. Today, the West Grey Climate Action Group, Earthworks, has brought forward a topic that has been in science and in process and in our hearts and in our experience. I'm a farmer. I experience these changes. They have been in our hearts for over 100 years. This is a process that has been developed. We have been working as a community group to have West Grey become a leader in bringing this topic forward. So though I agree that it should be a heart to heart, because it is, I do not understand the information that you have brought forward today, Lucy. And this is information that is crucial in making this decision, but it's not in an understandable form. And so for me to be able to have an actual conversation with you, I would need a lot more information. And it could, yeah, you're welcome to bring it forward at some point. Yeah. In order to actually have this conversation, I implore you all to actually look at the information here. Yeah, but I haven't, and I don't understand it, and I don't know if the council understands it as well. So I don't know where my 2 minutes is at. Okay. I want to bring one more piece. I sense a lot of fear in this room, and trust me, I'm also scared. I'm scared for my environment and I'm scared for my future. But I also want to bring a different counter emotion. It's excitement. I am excited that the council has been processing this for 4 years, and I'm excited for it to become a leader in climate action in the future. Thank you. You're welcome to come and comment.
Thank you. It's just 2 minutes. Thank you, Lydia. Sure.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm Brad Peterson from Grey County. It's very appropriate that a request for information might be met with a suggestion that we can share a very important information with you to help in guidance and overall understanding of where something like a climate action plan would sit within a larger framework. And we can provide that information to you. And we would suggest then that we could have an information transfer session, possibly in 2 parts. First of all, to exchange information. If you have information for the community and we have information for you, we're glad to have that transfer session where we exchange that information and provide some background on why we are doing that, the moral, ethical background for it, and the scientific basis for that information we want to share with you. And the second session could be when we actually discuss that. And so that we're all sort of awake to what the larger agendas are and how it is affecting us here. So we are putting forth an offer and a very heartfelt and professional way that we can share information together, be on the same page, have a level of awareness overall that we can all work together and build the sort of society that we can actually achieve that will benefit everyone. So we propose to have that information session, for example, this Friday at 2 p.m., where the council and the mayor and the CEO and so forth will be invited. If that time doesn't work, then we are happy to find a time when we can get together.
Very good. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll see what we can
I'll
do
be in
with that.
touch with the meeting secretary.
We'll see what we can do with that. Michael.
Right.
2 minutes.
I'll try and keep to my time. My name is Michael Risk. I live on the 4th of Glen Elg with my wife. To the best of my knowledge, I am the only climate scientist in Grey and Bruce counties. I, without reservation, support adoption of this plan that is factually accepted by virtually 99% of the world's scientists that climate change is upon us. We will get living here, we will get off relatively lightly compared with people living on the coasts and people living on the tropics. There will be issues. Our farmers will have great changes to deal with and they'll need help. People living near the Saugeen will need advice on flood control and flood management. But nonetheless, the plan, although flawed, is a start. It is a good start. Now, you will be facing intense opposition. And we have to understand that there is an enormous, look, the oil companies are not going to go down without fighting. They annually, one oil company annually spends as much on disinformation as Budweiser spends on advertising beer. If Budweiser can convince us to drink lousy beer, then the oil companies can convince us to accept the fact that we need not change. There was a recent presentation against this plan, and every single one of the experts quoted is funded by big oil. None of the experts quoted has published as much in climate science as I have. We have to understand that it's easy to fool someone. It's very hard to convince them that they have been fooled. Nonetheless, I feel that you should go ahead and approve this, knowing that according to, now ICLEI did a survey of the residents of Gray County, of West Gray rather, and they found that 3/4 of the residents agree that climate change is a serious problem. So if you approve this plan, you know that you have the support of every scientist in the world and 3/4 of the people living here. Thank you.
Peter?
All right, settle down, everyone here.
Peter?
That's all.
You caught the ace on Friday night, so come on. Yeah.
Available. All right, I got a new topic. My comment is with regards to the CEO that came and spoke, Nancy Shaw, about the nursing shortage, which is indicative of a broader problem in Ontario, about 30 healthcare support workers short. So I went to the board of directors meeting on Wednesday, October the 4th. Turns out you're not allowed to ask questions there either. So I had sent an email, and so thank you for the comment period here. I sent the email, haven't heard, phone called, haven't heard. But basically, I'm bringing up the same point I brought at the last public meeting, is that we still, along with the other healthcare units, have a 2-dose COVID vaccine minimum requirement as a hiring. And I question that policy because there is thousands of nurses that are currently unable to be employed in this province. And it's us, Nova Scotia and BC. If you go either direction province, they don't have that in place. In fact, Bruce County at their long-term care, they just revoked their 2-dose minimum because they had a big staffing shortage. It was untenable to keep it. And further, the previous CEO was very proud of the fact that they did not actually fire anyone who wasn't vaccinated. So there is nurses already working there that don't have the vaccines. So it's grandfathered in type of thing. And I would say, especially at this point, we have with the new variant, I think we all can agree the first 2 doses doesn't make a lick of difference of now with this new variants. I mean, that's common, right? So Anna Laxton, she's working at Bruce Lee. She would be working at Chesley Hospital if she was allowed to be hired. And so my comment is that I guess when we have these delegations like this, I think these are important things to bring up and ask them on it. I've heard the rumor that basically they don't want to be the first ones to break the ice on this because all of health units in Ontario are kind of in the board of directors are in the state of petrification, whereas they don't want to be the first one to stick their neck out. So no one is doing anything, realizing that that would be an effective solution. So I'm trying to encourage Nancy Shaw to deliver the great leadership that we need. We could be a leader in this department and it could domino affect Ontario and solve this provincially. It just takes a little courage in leadership to take that step and go outside the grain. So that is my comment to hopefully inspire others to take leadership on this issue as well and try to reverse this trend of healthcare because people are driving an hour and a half to Guelph for a stroke. And that's how many lives are really being lost or damaged as these failure to act decisions. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Dieter. We're just about at 10 minutes, but ma'am, you do have the last 2 minutes. And I would try to ask us to stay on things that are on the agenda today.
Certainly. Hello, my name is.
Sorry, Dieter. I know who Dieter is, but this guy didn't. Just before you give your name, Dieter, you didn't say your name, just for the record.
I'm Peter Stadnick.
Thank you.
Sorry, I took the delegation as an agenda.
You're good. Your name, please, for the record. I know.
My name is Nikki May.
Yes.
And I'm from Glenelg. And I'm just speaking today because I think it's important to reiterate that this plan we're talking about is corporate only. This plan has nothing to do with individuals in the community. It has nothing to do with controlling anybody. All it has to do with is
reducing greenhouse gas emissions, and in the process, it will save us money, us taxpayers money. The government can get grants from the Federation of Canadian Municipalities and from the federal government to help with these changes that they would be making to buildings, retrofits, where they would hire local labor to make changes to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions and to reduce the energy consumption, therefore reducing costs to taxpayers to maintain these buildings in the long term. That's really all I have to say.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Nikki. Okay. That, we've been here for an hour. Does council want to take a slight recess before we continue on to some of the more mundane business of the day? Okay, we'll be back at 10 after 10. How's that work? Okay. Okay, I apologize out there to anybody out in that's virtual. I said we'd be 10 minutes and took me 15 minutes to get to the washroom. So as I said, I apologize. We're a little bit later coming back, but we are back now. Call the meeting back to order. And onto the agenda, Jamie, I believe we're down to number 7, unfinished business. And I'm not aware of anything. Jamie's not. Adoption of minutes from the October 3rd council meeting in the package. Do I have a mover and a seconder for those? Moved by Councillor Forrester, seconded by Deputy Mayor Hutchison. Any errors or omissions? Any questions on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Committee and board reports. We have 2 sets of minutes to receive from the Saugeen Mobility and Regional Transit. Smart. May 26th and June 23rd. We can do those both together, can we not, Jamie? Yes. Do I have a motion to accept both those minutes? Moved by Councillor Shea, seconded by Councillor Noon. Thank you, Jeffrey. Joyce, any questions on that motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Correspondence. We have a number of correspondence in the package. One that we'll deal with it first has been pulled from Catherine Fife, MPP from Waterloo, requesting support for her Bill 21, Fixing Long-Term Care Amendment Act. Basically death till death do us part 2022. We have any comments on that correspondence? Surprisingly, the day after this correspondence came into us, I received a call from a local individual. His wife has got to the point where she had to go to a long-term care facility. Been married for 68 years, and he's still in the family home, but she was placed, as the system works, you're put onto 5 onto the list, and you if you have to go to one of those facilities, you accept the one that's available. She's in Lucknow. He doesn't drive anymore. So seeing his wife at 68 years, by the time he gets somebody to get him over there and whatnot, and or get her to come back for a family function, it's a full day thing. And his point was exactly what Ms. Fife is putting in here, that do we go to that facility, that if your spouse goes, that there's the ability for the caregiver to go as well to the other spouse. At this point in time, there isn't anything. Ms. Fife is trying to work towards that. It's one of those demanding things. Of course, Grey County, we're working for it. We know here in Durham, West Grey, that the county is rebuilding Rockwood Terrace. Some of the work has started down there, and there'll be another 28 beds. But that doesn't cure this problem of one spouse being admitted into a facility like that while the other spouse lives at home. That's my taking of what Ms. Fife is looking for, and sorry for letting me stand in my soapbox here, but council, your comments. Jeff.
Given what you just shared, I would move that we bring a motion in support of this act.
You got something to that, Jamie?
Through your miracles, yes, I do. I have that in consideration of correspondence received September 25th, 2023 from MPP Catherine Fife respecting a request for support of Bill 21, Fixing Long-Term Care Amendment Act. Till death do us part. Council directs staff to send a letter of support to the Minister of Long-Term Care, with copies being sent to the Premier of Ontario and MPP Catherine Fife.
Good with that, Jeff? Seconder. Councillor Townsend. Thank you, Doug. Any further questions or comments? Doug too, Mr. Hutchison.
Yeah, just thinking further on that, obviously, when they look at designing these new buildings like with Rockwood, I'm sure that hasn't been, I don't believe that's in the plans to have rooms that could accommodate two people. A lot of them are single residents, shared washroom, whatever. But looking forward, maybe, you know, unfortunately, we lost the assisted living part of Rockwood, for example, because that might have been helpful. The other thing is maybe we look at as a county, it's a county and the county, our reps have to take it back, but look at getting some accommodations that is close to Rockwood so that if it's an apartment or whatever that are you know, residents around Rockwood, then situation like this, a person could live close enough that they could walk to Rockwood and be housed close to it. So something to keep in mind, I think, going forward when we do look at expanding residential in the area, that could be part of the solution. So thanks.
Thank you for that, Doug. You're correct. Yeah, the assisted living would have been great to have in Rockwood, but funding is at a limitations from the county perspective on building this, and that's what is probably the biggest elephant in the room when you come into this one as well too. We're having trouble finding the funding for the residents of those homes and to be able to say, yep, well, we need room for the spouse as well too. How much more can we put in there? But looking towards a solution for it would be great. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Eccles. I totally respect what's brought forward here, but I think one of the challenges we have here is on this whole thing is, you know, some people in a relationship live a lot longer than their spouse, and if somebody needs this, you know, long-term care at a 55 to 60 years of age, and the other one's healthy up to 80, we can't be filling an extra room at one of our long-term cares because there's obviously we've got a backlog and we've got a waiting list of people to get in, and that's one of the challenges I see with this. So, you know, it's a fine balance act, but you know, we're in the middle of almost $100 million build for Rockwood Terrace, and you know, you'd almost have to double that to accommodate spouses. So I do have nothing but total respect for this, but I think the long-term care, the immediate thing in front of me is to take care of the ones that are in actual need. Yes, separation's terrible after all that time, but I think we have to care for the ones that need the care, and hopefully we can get them, you know, if there is an opening in this situation, an opening there, that they could be moved closer to their spouse or even the one that you had suggested, Mayor. So I don't know if I can fully support this just based on the way that things are laying right now. So I just want to make that comment. Thank you.
Anything further? Doug?
Quick comment. So yeah, I mean, putting it under long-term care may not necessarily be the solution, but my thought was, you know, get developers to use some of the land that, say, for example, Grey County has around Rockwood that you could develop some low-income housing sort of thing that people could live in and be close to. So that's outside the umbrella of long-term care. But yeah, I understand where the deputy mayor is coming from in terms of the cost of accommodating. So especially when someone's maybe a healthy individual, but yet their spouse is in Rockwood or in a long-term care, right? So that healthy individual may need to be close by, and there's lots of examples of that. But anyways, I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Seeing none, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Totally understand, Deputy Mayor. Declare that carried. Yeah. No. The rest of the correspondence is there. Sounds like they're having a party out there. Didn't realize it was an NFL football game. Tailgating, but that's fine. The rest of the correspondence is are there. We have a motion. Does anybody want to pull any of those? Councillor Noon, Joyce.
Well, thank you. I'd like to acknowledge that number 1 should probably be sent to the County of Gray. But that I'd like to pull number 7 in support of the childcare.
Okay. I think number 1, Jamie, you want to comment on that?
Yes, through Mayor Eccles, this piece of correspondence that number 1 was forwarded to the County of Gray. It's on our agenda as it was addressed to council, but staff felt that it was most appropriately dealt with through Gray County, so we have forwarded that on to them.
I guess I just didn't see a CC to the county. That's why I suggested that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Number 7, Joyce, we have that one pulled.
Thank you. Yes, I would like to recommend that we support this and acknowledge it with maybe our own local Blue Water and other agencies of our support in reducing or helping families in need of childcare, especially with if 2 parents are on a fixed income that is needed to survive and yet needing the childcare to help with reduced costs to help with their financial burdens and so on and so forth. Thank you.
Okay. So Joyce is moving that support for this correspondence. Do we have a seconder for that? Councilor Forrester. Thank you, Scott. Any further? No, you got that one written up. Amy? I'll let Jamie read it out so we know exactly what you're moving and seconding, Scott. Joyce. Jamie?
Through your miracles, I have that in consideration of correspondence received from the municipality of Blue Water respecting childcare availability. Council directs staff to send a letter of support to the Minister of Children, Community and Social Services, with copies being sent to the Premier of Ontario and all Ontario municipalities.
Good. Okay. There's no other questions on this one. Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. I need a motion to receive the other 6 correspondence. Moved by Councillor Townsend, Doug 1, and seconded by Doug 2, Councillor Hutchison. Any more questions on those? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay. That's for correspondence. I guess that brings us down to staff reports. Number 11. If I'm correct, the first one is legislative services clerk. Jamie, will you introduce that one?
Thank you, Mayor Eccles. This report is for the renewal of the bylaw enforcement contract. West Gray uses Delcor Security Services for contract bylaw enforcement and has been doing so since November 2021. Their contract is up at the end of this month, and staff are recommending that it be renewed at this time. To note, Dalcor Security Services has requested a $3 an hour increase. And I will note that their services are provided on an as-needed basis. They have a maximum of 14 hours per week. However, the municipality is only billed if services are rendered. So if no bylaw enforcement is undertaken in that period, the municipality is not responsible for any costs.
Okay. I have a mover for that. Move by Councillor Hutchison, seconded by Deputy Mayor Hutchison. Questions or comments?
Mayor Eccles, one of the questions I would have is obviously it's going to be a budget related question, but if we entertain this, how we provide this service through this bylaw, and we go with another 1-year agreement or contract with them and say we did some enhancements throughout the bylaw, or how we actually handle this, is that going to handcuff us, I guess is the question.
Through you, Mayor Eccles, no, it won't. There is an escape clause within the contract that would allow the municipality to basically cease the services with the contractor, provided that adequate notice is given. So if council does wish to enhance bylaw enforcement services, we as a municipality would have an escape route from that contract.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Noon. Joyce?
Well, thank you. Just a few questions. The contract that's provided, do they provide written reports on a monthly basis as to the bylaws that they've looked after? And the other question, if they do provide these reporting, does it reflect any substantial enforcement achieved through the contract timeline? Like, is there things that he finds or provides that to reflect that this contract is reflecting well for the municipality when it comes to property standards, issues, and so on? Thank you.
Through you, Mayor Eccles, I can answer the first part of that question, but I think I'll defer to the Director of Infrastructure and Development to answer the second piece of that. So reporting on bylaw enforcement statistics, my understanding is that historically that is something that is provided on a semi-annual basis. So what I will say with that is that I plan on bringing forward a staff report in the new year to outline statistics on bylaw enforcement for 2023, but I will defer to the Director for the other part of that question.
Yes, through your worship. So I'm not exactly sure what you're asking. I believe you're asking me if we can, if we have statistics to sort of determine whether, you know, he's providing an adequate service. Is that?
Yes, and the fact that, like, especially with property standards, I know you said sometimes you can get into the courts and stuff, but I feel if we have some clout behind our bylaws and with him enforcing, you know, them, that the bylaws, so just so that the work's being done, that the bylaw does have some clout to having services provided outside of our reign, like that the money is well spent.
Yeah, through your worship. So as I previously talked to council, bylaw enforcement is a very difficult undertaking for any bylaw enforcement officer in any municipality. If the clout, as you indicated in a bylaw, doesn't really provide, other than property, outside of property standards, there really is, the only course of action is going through courts. We do everything we possibly can to get compliance with the property owner prior to going to court. We do that as a last resort. It is a time-consuming and costly endeavor for the municipality, for lawyers' fees and things like that. So we do try to use it as a last resort. And I understand sometimes that comes off as a delay or a slow reaction by the municipality to a situation. And it's unfortunate, and we try to educate the property owners as well as the complainants as much as we possibly can about the process and how we have to achieve compliance if the property owner is is not willing to comply on their own. It is a difficult situation. I believe that, our contractor is doing the best he can. We are not his only client, obviously, for 14 hours a week. Obviously he's got other services that he provides. So, is he on top of does he react to our stuff the minute we send it to him? No, and we can't expect that either, right? I don't believe so. He does the best he can. I believe he does provide timely inspections and timely responses. All materials and all his reports and all letters and everything are produced through the municipality, through the building department, planning department, admin staff. So we have records of all the information that he provides, the inspection reports, the letters that are sent out to the complainant and the property owner. So we can, as that information is coming in, we do have a general understanding of the process and where he is at on these investigations. And we have fairly regular conversations with the bylaw enforcement officer as well as with our legal counsel on how to proceed on some of these. So I have a pretty good understanding on where he's at with most of or all of the investigations. And would some be better served if we could go faster? Sure, but it's, again, we're not his only customer, so it is he does the best he can, I think, with the time and the hours that we've allotted for him.
Councillor Hodges. Doug?
Yeah, so that was my question too. I'd asked the clerk that I would like to, it'd be nice to have a report just in case, like to find out what we're getting for our money in terms of how many investigations they have. I know we can't get into details, but maybe just numbers like, it's 5, is it 10, is it 20? If they're pending and they're still in the work. So I would like to see that before we pass the bylaw to renew this, but obviously that's not going to happen because it has to happen. It's not on the agenda today, I don't think, but no. So it'd have to come out in November 7th, which is our next council. So just a report to say, because we're asking for a raise, are we getting a bang for a buck? That's all I'm asking. So I guess we can have it in the future, but it's not going to happen before we pass the bylaw, or at least I hope it can happen. Maybe I'm asking our director.
I think that is doable. Joyce, you had a further comment?
Just to follow up, when you say that he has other, tasks that he has to look after outside of us, and which I totally understand, but sometimes the public gets a little, especially if it's an ongoing one, I would think that the people get a little bit upset if they're knowing that they're put off because something else is taken priority. So just to know that our contract is being taken seriously, that, not to be put off for too long a time when the request is put in. I just want to make that known. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Joyce. Anything further? We have a motion on the floor to move and second it. Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Okay. 11.2.1. Carl. Mr. Shipwreck, thank you for joining us today. Do you want to give us an update on the West Grey Police Services building? The floor is yours.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good morning. So as council is aware, in 2023, we went back out for tender to hire a new architect for the West Grey Police Services building. Plus VG Architects was hired. They've completed a fulsome review. They are required under their legislation to fully review any drawings that they're putting their name and their signature on. Part of that review was a request from staff that they review the drawings and find any potential cost savings that they believe, with minor changes to a drawing may save some money. They did find a couple of items that were very small in design, but potentially could save a little bit of money. So that was beneficial. The process was a little time consuming, but they have completed that. The revised drawings and with all their updates have been sent to a cost consultant. Part of our tender request was that a cost consultant provide a full review and costing for the project. Hopefully that will be back by the end of this month. And when that comes back in, a report with the final costing will be brought back to council. Along with, we can provide, the revised drawings. Ultimately, the drawings visually aren't going to change or haven't changed from the original drawings that were presented to council in 2022. There were some minor layout changes and some minor construction material changes that will potentially save some costs, but ultimately the design hasn't changed. The other item was we did make a presentation to council regarding the remainder of the property around the police services building. So there's been some discussion with Cobite Engineering. They've provided some, or have been working with us to provide some layouts. There's a possibility for a portion of the property, working with the county for a possibility for an ambulance bay on that property. So we are in discussions with the county on that. So hopefully within the next month that will be finalized, and costing for the remainder of the property, including services, water, sanitary, stormwater management, will all be brought forward to council as part of a full package to determine what the best way to move forward on the remainder of the property would be as well.
Okay, thank you, Carl. Looks like we're moving along. A couple of questions, Deputy Mayor Tom.
Thank you, Mayor Echols. I know it's very difficult to say, but are we fairly confident we can get some information out for some costing from possible developers or builders by the middle of, say, end of November? Because I know everybody's looking, anybody you've talked to in anything, they're already looking at next year's project. So it was just a hypothetical question. Thank you.
Yeah, through your wish. Yeah, that is our hope, that when the cost comes back, the report will be brought to council in a timely manner, and then the architects would complete the tender documents to be sent out for tender to construction. Our hope is that by the end of November, we would be able to send out the tender, and the responses will be back before the end of the year.
Anything else? We'll start with Doug 1, Mr. Townsend.
Thank you. When we're looking at developing that land, a couple things come to mind. First, the police building. Yes, we got to get going on that. But because that was previous council, so I'm sorry, I wasn't privy to all those conversations. Was that building laid out in a fashion, or can the ambulance building be laid out in a fashion to also twin up or link on to a new fire station? Because we're looking forward as a municipality, at some point, we're going to need a new fire station. So when we're putting pipes in the ground and doing water and sewer and roads and all that sort of stuff in the layout, we should be looking at the accommodation of that on either one of the two buildings, if we can link them up, because that may save us on some costs for lunchrooms, training rooms, some things like that that could be jointly used between two different services. So that's I guess that's my first question.
So, yeah, through your worship. So that was never incorporated as part of the design. Currently with the design for either of the bill, I don't have an interior design layout of the ambulance, but I only have an overall outside layout dimensions. So I don't know what, but the proposed location on the property wouldn't provide space for a future police station attached to that building or to the police station. There is adequate property available on that land that would provide adequate space for a fire station, but it would not be, neither design would be capable of having them attached or connected at this point.
Okay. I think there'd be servicing would be for the whole property. There'd be services available for anything that might go there afterwards.
Yeah, servicing would include any future development that we're incorporating into that design, future development for water, sewer, and sanitary.
Yeah, okay. Councillor Hutchison.
Yeah, so leads me to the question, what about cost sharing with the county for services and land? If they're going to put a ambulance bay on that, are we getting any funds to help with the cost and care with that?
The county has expressed their interest in purchasing the land from the municipality. It wouldn't be a cost share necessarily. They would just, we're looking at an appraisal of the property that they're interested in, and that appraisal would come back, and then that would be would go to the county. So they would be purchasing land no different than anybody else purchasing a portion of the land, and it would be, we're looking at both options, whether it would be fully serviced, they were purchasing a fully serviced lot versus an unserviced lot, and then they would have to provide their own services. So those are the two options we're looking at.
All right. I think we need a motion. Do we need a motion to receive that report? Unless there's any other questions? Nope. Moving it. Deputy Mayor. We'll move that. Seconder. Councillor Shea. Jeff. Duly moved and seconded. Thank you very much, Carl, for that update. It is one of the big things that's on there, especially with the guy sitting right to your left. He seems to be pretty keen on it. Any questions on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Yeah, thanks, Carl. Manager of Public Works, 11.3. 11.3.1. Morning, Jeff. And
good morning, Mayor and Council.
Biannual bridge inspection report. Got some just wonderful news for us there. There's all kinds of troubled waters, and we have bridges that are getting over it, huh? Yeah, sorry. You got any good news out of this report?
Well, the good news is there's a proposed work plan in it. It didn't, you know, we tried to give you a realistic picture of where we're at with our
Yes.
current bridge infrastructure and a proposed work plan, how to move forward, knowing that as the bridges are inspected biannually, some bridges, or all of them, will continue to deteriorate. So traditionally, West Grey has developed a proactive approach to try to get on top of that, and the report is suggesting to continue with that.
And with that, any questions for Jeff? Doug, too. Councillor
Yeah,
Hutchison.
first of all, I'd like to say thank you to our director for coming up with a plan. I like the fact that the bridges are now rated, and I mean, the rating's been there, but are set up so that we know exactly which one's most priority based on their BCI, right? So you have the numbers there. I think that's important. And also there's a plan there in terms of how we go about this in terms of this year, next year, and the year after, and so on. So I applaud our director for coming up with that. looking at what he has just on paper for the first 9 bridges, culverts, whatever, we're looking at probably 1.2 to 1.5 million per year just to continue on and get on top of this. And so I think that's important going into budget that we know a number, but I mean, those are not big bridges, huge bridges. If we get into a major bridge, then we're probably looking a lot more than that. But based on what I see and what I understand, it looks like that's probably our minimum that we need to meet for this. So I do have a question about some individual bridges, which I can maybe ask privately, or I can ask it now. It doesn't really matter, but just a couple of questions that came up when I look at some of the individual bridges and culverts.
36 seconds per bridge.
Okay.
Yeah, put it out there.
Yeah, okay. So bridge culvert 184 is, so this was on side road 25 north of concession 8 in Normanby. A lot of these, when I drive around and look at some of these, a lot of them are small. They seem to be cement culverts, right? That seemed to be the trend, was a cement culvert rather than what we use nowadays. So some of these, and I might have to get into details, but some of them could be single culverts versus double culvert. Like the one that was on side road 25 that were just repaired was a double culvert. Does the EA, Jeff, does the EA tell us when they look at that, whether it needs a single or double, or I guess that's the engineering standards? How do we determine whether we can get by with one culvert versus 2, or maybe a full bridge?
Yes, thank you, and through you, your worship. At the technical level, at some point, they will look at the throat and the hydraulic capacity that the span needs to cover. And after that, then they'll look at things like ice formation is a big driver for us. Then you can start looking at the financial side of it. What makes the most sense? Is it a culvert or a twin culvert or a Bailey bridge or a concrete box culvert or even a wood bridge? But you need to complete the analysis of the river and its function or how it operates before you start looking at the technical aspect of what is going to serve us best. And the EA would discuss that and look at all the different options and ultimately come to a conclusion that considers environmental, structure, and financial.
Yeah, so I wondered about that. So a couple others here. The one on side road 25, and sometimes I wonder when we look at some of these side roads, when we have very little residential on the side road and we have 1 or 2 culverts or bridges, you sometimes wonder whether it's really feasible to keep it open. The one on side road 25 on the south end, at one point we did look at closing that bridge. It was the one that was temporarily repaired because someone running into it. It's open now, but you have it down here for repairs. I'm just wondering, is like at one time they suggested that we close it. Now we're talking about repairing. So somewhere along the line we have to make that decision, right? And that's the. Can you comment on it, Jeff? I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Through your worship, I think it's premature at this point until we start the EA process on if we want it to remain open. My initial thought would be, since you've replaced the one bridge further up with a twin culvert, that might add some weight towards keeping it open. But ultimately, at some point, council will have to make a decision on a closure plan and if this would be part of it or not.
Okay, all right. And I think I have just one more. No, maybe not. No, that's it. Fine. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Doug. Jeffrey, Councillor Shea.
Thank you. And thanks for this report. It's really well organized and gets to the point and sort of no nonsense. I appreciate that. 2 of the bridges I think you're discussing here are slated for removal. So they're a hazard and can't just be left closed. They actually have to be removed. I'm just curious. There's another bridge down here on a road, I think called Old Bridge Road, that's been closed for years and years. I'm just wondering why no one's ever thought that had to be removed. If it doesn't, that's great, but do you know anything about that?
Through you, your worship, I'm not familiar with that, and I'd have to look into that a little bit to give you a straight answer.
Start with the county. Yeah, when County Road 3 went straight north, it used to jig. I think that's the one you're meaning, just off of Grey Road 4 here. And it used to jig and went across the old bridge there. That old bridge is in there. As far as I know, it's still a county structure, so that's why it wouldn't be under ours. Yeah, still there, used as for foot traffic, but there hasn't been any vehicle traffic across it. 30 years, maybe 40. Yeah, been quite some time since the last time there was any vehicles on that bridge. So, good point. Okay, anything else? No, I'm going to go to Joyce first. Ladies first.
Thank you.
Councillor
And
Knight.
thank you for the report. It's well detailed, good information. My only concern is, and I'm not trying to be negative in any way, but we've experienced some estimates that were costing over the past year that led us to have to restructure how we finish construction that was approved in our budget. So in the structure N184, you stipulate that the estimated cost is similar to structure N189 that you're currently working on. Since it's a double culvert and that I'm not certain, would it require the same kind of double culvert? Just as kind of asking why it would be estimated at a similar cost. Only just when we do get to that point of rehabilitating or replacing that bridge, that our costs are true. And I just want to know if the variables were similar as you've indicated in your report.
Through your worship, thank you for your comment. The initial high-level analysis would suggest that a solution would be similar to what we're currently doing. But one particular action I'd like to try to highlight is, it is my department's goal to try to issue a tender where possible prior to budget. So the goal would be, if that becomes the priority, to try to get the EA and the tender inspect completed and issued prior to the end of the year, so that when we're setting the budget, we're coming in with what would appear to be the most realistic number we can get our hands on. We share in your frustration of coming back and having to retool. It's not pleasant for staff to write a report saying we need to double the budget. The goal of trying to do it in the fall prior to the year of construction is to address that concern.
I look forward to those staff reports coming back and telling us that we only need half of what's in the budget. Thank you very much. Yeah, those would be short reports, right, Joe?
I would love to do that, but I'm yet to have that happen in my career. So that can be a good goal for upcoming years. Absolutely.
Okay, very good. Any other questions on the bridge report? Oh, sorry, Tom. Yes.
I just have one. Thank you for your report. I guess one of the questions, and I continue to ask this, is have we reached out to any of these prefab companies? Because I know our neighbors have done it. They've had substantial savings. They do include DEA and everything. So at what stage of the game should we entertain maybe asking for a delegation? Because I think some of these are a fit for what the services they provide. And I'd really like to, I'm quite interested, especially when I hear there's substantial savings. So can we get a fit in here of any of them? Or if not this one, maybe on the next report as it comes. So I think we should probably pick a few of them and let's see what the prices is. I think there's some definite savings that would benefit West Gray. Thank you.
Through your worship, you raise a good point. You'll note in the report, there are some structures that we feel require a substantial mass, but anywhere a lightweight structure would be appropriate, would be identified in the EA. And I would expect as we do the EA, we would consider all alternatives for every structure, knowing that on the where we require mass, the lightweight structures will fall out, but anywhere we would have traditionally considered a Bailey Bridge, which is what I cut my teeth on, we would look at those lightweight structures that our neighboring municipalities have incorporated. I've been trying to follow that as best I can, and they've done some interesting options on how to address the costing for bridge. And if we can make a lightweight structure work, I think it's worth following up on. Thank you.
Thank you for your response. I guess one of the key elements here to what, and I've spent an awful lot of time at conferences and speaking to these people and obviously working with some other leaders throughout the province and the municipalities. I guess one of my questions is, again, getting back to the EA, I'm looking at some big numbers here for EA before we go ahead with anything else. So I guess what my comment here is, we need to entertain these people because they provide that service, and it may be a heck of a lot less for that EA because they're coming in doing the whole assessment, where we're paying, you can see the numbers in the report. Maybe there's savings even through at the EA level before we even go ahead and, whether we selected to go with a prefab concept. I guess that's kind of what I'm looking at. It's just a recommendation, and I've talked to lots of people that have gone to these prefabs, and there's been substantial savings. And at the end of the day, it is all of us making a contribution in the levy to keep the bridges open. So thank you.
Well, I think I can speak for staff that, on behalf, but I hope, that staff will continue to look for those types of new and innovative and cost-effective, be able to keep our director of finance smiling when we can find some good numbers out there instead of larger numbers all the time. Great. Need a motion to accept the bridge report. Do I have a mover? Moved by Scott, seconded by Doug Townsend, Councillor Townsend, Councillor Forster. Any questions on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Carried. All right. Second report. Jeff, SVCA, Category 3. Have your report. Anything further on that? Suggestions or go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. No, I have nothing further to add than what's already in the report.
Any questions or comments? Councillor Hutchison. Doug?
I think I'm on the right spot here. I think this has to do with the testing of the water. Am I correct? I'm looking at the report here. Right. So as I said before, I think somewhere in here I read that our staff maybe weren't recommending that we continue on with this $15,000 for Category 3 service. I still think it's important. It's been something we've done for a number of years. It's $15,000 is not a big amount of money, and I think it gives some protections for the rural community in terms of what's going into the rivers and the surface water. So I'm still in favor of it. And I don't think we're making a decision today by the looks of it, unless it comes further down. But I still think it's a very important service that conservation authorities provides, and realizing that it will cost us $15,000 annually to keep this testing going. So that's where I'm coming from. Thank you.
I think I'll give it to Jamie to interpret what staff is recommending here.
Through you, Mayor Eccles, and to Mr. Aiken's point, the report is provided to you today for information purposes. If council wishes for staff to enter into an agreement with the Saugeen Valley for Category 3 cost apportioning, a motion would be required to that effect. So I think this is that opportunity. If council wishes to enter into those agreements, we would need that direction today.
Okay. Or to be open and transparent, somebody could put forward a motion to not enter into the agreement as well, too. Deputy Mayor Hutchison. Tom?
Thank you, Mayor Eccles, and I too support this. I think if we don't move forward on this and it's something that's needed in 2 years from now, we're back to square one. So I think the history and all the work that's been done to carry on, I think it's, I'm going to support it. So I will put a motion forward that we do endorse this and we receive this information and we support the Category 3 for the, what number was it, 15,000? I'm sure clerk can help me with that one. So I would put that motion forward.
Through you, Mayor Eccles, I have that in consideration of staff report IPW 2023-15 SVCA Category 3. Council authorizes the mayor and clerk to enter into a cost apportioning agreement with Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority for the provision of Category 3 services.
That was almost what I was going to say, but I thank you, clerk.
That was exactly what you were going to say. Thank you for saying it, Damon. Doug, you seconding that? I need a second.
Sorry, yes, I'll second that.
Okay.
And I do have a question.
Comment.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure. So we're talking about the water quality program, which is the cost of $15,293. But are there other Category 3 programs? Like your statement said, Category 3 programs, but right now we're only talking water quality. Are there more Category 3 programs that are included in that?
Looking towards Jeff.
Through your worship, it's my understanding that they would also examine some of the potential flooding, but beyond that, not sure there's a whole lot of, like, I understood the major part of the program was the sampling that they do.
From my understanding of being on the conservation, yes, it's staff. There's a number of automated sites that are out there. It's in the report. I think there's 13 or something that are in West Grey on the river itself. The proposal that we had here from the interim director or interim manager, was about how much it was on the water services infrastructure that we have. And no, none of that. It is on the surface water, on the rivers, lake, but mostly on the, I don't think there's any lakes that are in there. On any of the inland lakes in West Grey, it's just on the river and dealing with certain qualifications and I'm going to get this name wrong, basically the little invertebrates that are in the river, something of that nature. Yeah, there's an exact name, not of the organisms that they test for the water. Quite frankly, the problem that I have with it very much is it's 5 years. It's not something that they report on it every 5 years. Gives an idea of what the river is, how it's trending, but not what it is today, tomorrow, or down the road. And there's absolutely nothing in that Category 3 that identifies flood potentials, contamination or pollution into the river. Probably you can interpret, I'm not a supporter of this, and I say it right now, I won't be supporting it. Conservation has a lot of issues with having enough staff, from what I've heard at various meetings, and we've got some staff out there trying to do this. And I don't see the huge potential in it. It's an overall provincial thing on the rivers. And again, here it is. I believe that conservation has mission creeped into this, and it's a, it's more of a provincial matter. And property taxpayers of West Grey and Brockton of Ontario have ended up paying for it. And it should be, for an overall view, it should be the river systems of the province. And the province should be paying for it. But it's ended up down to us. And if we keep going, 15,000 here, 15,000 there, not getting anything out of it, and it's for a provincial matter, it's no wonder that our budgets are going up 10% every year. Further comments? Councillor Shea. Jeff?
I think I agree. The reports, and I'm looking at the presentation that was given to us, and they talk about the history of water quality testing, and they cite the Walkerton crisis and say, one of the aims is to ensure public health and prevent reoccurrences of such a devastating event. But the explanation was that that this program does not do that. And yet, I think they're sort of muddying the water and suggesting that this program does do it. In the time that I've been on council, this apparently has been going on since the 60s. I don't recall ever having seen an alert or an incident or a policy decision impacted by this water testing program. So it's never been said, I've never heard that, well, there's too much E. coli in the river, and therefore we should, fix how the way, fences and farms, interact or something like that. And in the presentations that were given, I didn't see anything that said, here's action that resulted from our testing over the last decades. So I don't really see the benefit of the testing. It sounds like a good thing. It sounds like an inexpensive thing. And it's, testing water sounds good, but public health already tests 14 or 15 swimming sites in our riverways. So the places where most people go in the water are being tested individually already. If our rivers were contaminated with E. coli, the whole river would be contaminated, and public health is testing it at the beaches. So we're gonna notice that there's E. coli in the rivers anyway. So I don't really think that this is a lot of value for the money. So I think I'm going to agree with the mayor on this one. Not for the first time.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Doug, Councillor Hutchison.
Well, two things. First of all, as I look at the water quality program, the water program reporting is an annual reporting. So you made a statement about 5 years. Yes, every 5 years they do a standard, but they do report every year. I just think it's another safeguard. Yes, we do. The health department does test our swimming areas. They don't do it on a regular basis. I know we've had issues in the past and the health department wasn't there. So I think this is another way of us picking up on any potential hazards or things that get into the river that before anyone else would detect it. So I think it's another safeguard. I think they're public, from what I've heard, they do want it. The people in the rural communities do want it as another safeguard. So I'm willing to vote for it. I don't think $15,000 is a big issue, and I hope that other municipalities will support it. But I mean, if other municipalities don't support it, it will not happen. Everybody has to be on board. That's my understanding. So, thank you.
Joyce, Councillor New.
Well, thank you. I too will be supporting it. I'm still concerned with liquid manure and what it affects the land, and especially when it goes into our tile draining systems, that it just doesn't absorb like your natural dry manure in past years. So there's just that concern yet that what's future coming with farming being so much more with cash cropping and so on and so forth, and the way things are handled just much more differently now. So I'm just concerned of how that could affect our rivers and streams in the future. Thank you.
Okay, Tom? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Eccles. Yeah, I guess if we see a lot more flash flooding, we see a lot more flooding, period. And the testing of the microorganisms or the so-called bugs, as it does get referred to, they're actually going to be able to detect that. And it's an annual reporting. That's why I'm going to support it, because we're not going to always see it at the surface level of what we're exposed to. Flooding, there's a lot more flood off some of the lands. So I think the measurement of the bugs, microorganisms, if you will, as a way to identify what is actually in the system. So for that, I am going to continue to support this. And again, if you look at it, it's about $1 a household or $1 per person, because we're roughly 15,000 people. So I think it's a pretty small number, in my opinion. Thank you.
All right, anything further? Jeff, Councillor Shea.
Quick question to staff. I don't know if anyone has this answer. We've had some beach closures historically in Durham, I know for sure, but probably other places as well. Do you know whose testing triggered those closures? Was it Public Health or Saugeen Valley?
Through your worship, I believe it was the health unit, but I'm not directly involved in that.
Mr. Hewitt. Cody, you got an answer?
Thank you. And through you, typically when we do see beach closures in the middle reservoir, they're prompted by Saugeen Valley Conservation.
Okay. Anything else? Any other ones on this? Certainly. Doug?
Yeah. And I do think that it's part of our whole tourism thing. We have a lot of people come to our area and they don't necessarily swim in the Durham Dam. They swim, a lot of them go in tube and many parts of the conservation area and many parts of the Saugeen River. So I think it's just another way of helping us to make sure that there aren't issues out there. And I think it's just another safeguard for our tourists that come to the area and use our rivers, and they use them for many, many reasons. So thank you.
Okay, anything else? Seeing none, we have the motion duly moved and seconded. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Madam CEO is the financial director. She's online. She'll be able to add that into the budget that we'll see coming out. Very good. Okay. That's it for that one. Environmental officer. Nicole.
Your worship, if you might indulge me for a moment, I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce Mayor and Council to our environmental officer, Nicole. Nicole joined us June 19th, has a degree in environmental science and a master's degree from the University of Guelph. The main responsibilities are the technical aspects of climate action, waste management, the drinking water system, wastewater system, and stormwater system. And her time has been dominated with the rollout of the hazardous waste unit. So on that note, please welcome our environmental officer. Thank you.
Nicole. You've got me already. Go Griffins. Go River. Yes, and your first report here in front of council.
Good morning.
Good.
Thank you, Jeff, for the introduction. It's a pleasure to be here. Environmental things is my thing. I very much enjoy working for the municipality to head up this end of the community needs. So the report that I prepared for today is in response to the timeline and the highlights of the report here.
that in August of 2019, West Gray unanimously declared a climate crisis. In response to that, in August of 21, there was an RFP issued for a consultant to provide services to produce a plan. In December of 21, Local Governments for Sustainability was awarded this RFP. And in February of this year, the staff from that consulting organization appeared as a delegation with that plan and presented it to council. There wasn't any action at that time, so this report is recommending that council adopt that corporate climate action plan as presented. And there's a few things in the report also that outline some strategies that are already underway within the municipality at a corporate level. There's been installation of EV chargers. There's been a hybrid vehicle ordered for the building department. Bicycle racks have been installed. There's a geothermal furnace at one of the facilities. The household hazardous waste program has been a huge success in the community. It makes sure that people don't have to travel to Owen Sound for those services as they did before, or the once a year program, which I guess it was not always convenient for everybody. So this ongoing service is much more convenient. There's also plans for a long-term waste management master plan to address our landfill capacity needs, and looking at projects through a climate lens, including things like local procurement. Strategies that the municipality can easily implement is new energy efficient buildings. As was discussed earlier, there's a new police station coming up, and looking at how that kind of a building can be as efficient as possible. Retrofitting existing buildings, there's many things that can be done on that end. We're going to be looking at implementing a program to provide cups to the residents of the municipality to collect fats, oils, and greases. And the purpose behind that is it will protect the wastewater infrastructure so that those materials don't end up in the pipes and cause more maintenance costs and issues, and not even make it into that system in the first place. Other things that we're doing to meet our waste diversion targets is installing water refilling stations in arenas, and looking at maybe a reuse program and other diversion programs at the landfill sites.
And that's good synopsis. Thank you very much, Nicole. Any questions for Nicole? How's your episode, Doug?
Hi, Nicole. Welcome to West Gray. And I'm sure we'll have a chance to sit down and talk about many things in the future. My first question is, it's in your report, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I'm just curious about you talked about the biodegradable cups for household grease and so on. What do you have any idea? How's that going to roll out? Like, any ideas how we're going to do that? Oh, sorry, maybe I have to turn my.
Sorry about that. So the cups we're looking at procuring from a vendor, and they can be branded. They contain messaging on how to use them, what types of materials go in them, and how they protect the municipal infrastructure from excessive maintenance costs, where people might be dumping fats, oils, and greases down the drains, which end up causing things called fatbergs in the wastewater infrastructure. And they can be distributed through any municipal facility or at events.
Okay, yeah, so that was my question, is how we're going to get that out to the public. So whether, other than going door to door and saying, here's some cups or type thing. So so just something to think about in the future. The other thing you mentioned in your report, and I wasn't sure what this is about, curbside giveaway days. Can you explain that?
Curbside giveaway days are a way to essentially one person's trash is another person's treasure. So that these materials don't even make it to the landfill sites. I think we live in an area where there's a lot of haves and a lot of have-nots, and it's an opportunity to give those things to people that need them and appreciate them. So it's something that we would have to look at a plan on how to roll it out and provide some public education behind it as well.
Right. So like curbside exchange days, that type of thing is, yeah, okay. It's just, I wasn't sure of what that meant there. Yeah, and there's been some discussion. I think we even had delegations come to us about creating a recycle center within our landfills or close to our landfills. And I think there's some merit to look at that again, sort of thing. I just not sure how it works. Again, staffing was an issue. If it could be done a volunteer thing, that may be one thing, but there's some potential there. I have some more questions, but it's further down in the report, but I'll leave it for now. Maybe other people will have questions and maybe come back to me.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Shay. Jeff, go ahead.
Thank you. And thanks for the report and the recommendation. Ms. Heber? No, I'm just sure I'm pronouncing it correctly. There's a couple of things, specific things that I wanted to ask about. One, we talked a couple of years ago, about replacing one of the ice resurfacers with an electric one. Do you know if there's been any progress on that front, or you heard of this at all?
I'll let Jeff speak to that one.
Yes, staff are aware of previous council's request for electric ice resurfacer. In terms of our fleet program, there will not be a request of 2024 for an ice resurfacer, but it would be my expectation when we'd go through some sort of RFP process that would consider options such as electric, propane, natural gas, etc. And once we have those proposals back, then staff could do an evaluation on to generate a recommendation on how to move forward. Thank you.
Okay, I thought that 2 or 3 years ago, there was an urgent need for a new ice resurfacer. And if that doesn't seem to be the case now, then maybe that one's already been purchased using older technology.
There we go. Yes, thank you. And good morning to you, Mr. Mayor, Council Shays. Thank you for the question. We have been putting money into a reserve to purchase an electrified ice resurfacer. Repairs were done to the one that we thought was in worse shape than it actually ended up being. So we're hobbling along with that one for now.
Thank you. That's clarifying. I didn't see, it's just a comment, I didn't see expanding tree planting program. We've planted 25 trees recently, but expanding tree planting generally throughout the urban areas as a sort of a near goal target, but something that I think would be fairly easy and effective and create a lot of visible action that people can see what we're doing. So that's just a comment. There is a mention of replacing 2 police cars with electric vehicles by 2030. That's only 7 years from now. So that's not the next car, but it's the next 2 cars, the next 2 cars after that, I guess. I don't know if there's been any consultation with the police department about their thoughts on the matter. I don't think we get to tell the police which vehicles to purchase. I wonder if the police chief might be able to respond to that. Is that appropriate?
Yes, he's here, and I think we can because, no, go ahead, chief, please.
Just to answer Councillor Shay's question, yes, electric vehicles are on our radar. We are waiting for some reports from the bigger services, in particular Niagara Regional Police, that are looking at their fleet. We've put it off because right now the technology for electric vehicles won't meet what we need to do. Niagara did an initial study and found that they would have to increase their fleet by 2.5 times given the charging delays. So we are in a holding pattern waiting for other services to do the research for us and wait for the technology to catch up that an electric vehicle can stay functioning as a working police car for the 12-hour shifts that our members work. So the Coles Note answer is we're in a holding pattern, waiting and see until we get more information from the service that is leading that charge on behalf of the police services in the province of Ontario.
I kind of thought that might be the answer, but thanks for that clarity, Chief. Just so that you're aware, Ms. Heber, that some of the goals that we have in here are dependent on things that are outside of our control. I'm sure you're aware of that. On page 22, it talks about replacing a number of vehicles and pieces of equipment by 2026. That's just 3 years from now. So we're going to have to start moving quickly to make that happen. One of them was a police car, but there was also a light truck, I think, and some lawn mowing equipment, something like that. So I'm curious to know if we'll be able to achieve that goal. It's one of the first goals that's mentioned in the report. And if we don't get the first goal, I'm nervous about all the other later goals, 2030, 2050. One of the recommendations in the report is to review progress every 5 years, I believe. Given that council terms are 4 years, that means that a certain term of council might actually never see this report. I would like to increase that review period. I would like to consider council to consider increasing that review period to say every 3 years instead of every 5 years. I would make that as a motion and invite comment from staff to find out if that's unfeasible for any reason.
Complications. So you're moving an amendment. Not even here yet. Sorry, we haven't moved to go there. You're exactly right. Thanks, Jamie. It was a comment with 5 to 3 to from 5 to 3. Is there any problem that staff would see with that? Look at the author of this report first. The holder of it. Go.
I don't see an issue with that.
Okay. Councillor Hutchison, done?
Just curious, the wording here, further down on that page, this is page 47, I guess. It talks about, it said about the 5-year at the top, but then further down it says, by establishing the internal data collection process, the corporate inventory can be updated on an annual basis if deemed necessary, which can also aid in departmental cohesion and climate action. So I guess it's not necessarily written in stone that it's going to be looked at on an annual basis, but yeah, I had that concern too, that maybe 5 years is too long. So I guess we have to make the change. We can do that. So I want to point that out.
And finally, I see we've set up 14 new bike racks in the municipality, and I didn't see one when I was parking my bike in front of the office here this morning. Is there not one in front of the office? Okay, okay, I'm fine, thank you.
Joyce, Councillor New.
Thank you and welcome, Nicole. A great report. Under number 6 for the regarding the cups for the oils and so on and so forth. Now, would this just be geared to the residents in the municipal, or sorry, under the municipal systems, or would it be given to all residents in West Grey? The only reason I don't know what the impact is on landfill, because I myself, I would put my oils and so on and so forth in a glass jar and dispose of them in my garbage. So if there's a way of getting all oils and so on and so forth into you know, one area where a vendor will take them. I experienced that when we used to run a little restaurant. You know, that there is an end where you can take these products. So I was just kind of wondering if the opportunity is for all of West Gray or just for the municipal systems public.
The opportunity would be for all residents. The biggest benefit is to obviously the municipal infrastructure. However, it also benefits every individual household as to keeping their own pipes clean in their household. So, and people move and, you know, may live in an environment where they have a septic and then move to an environment where they have the municipal infrastructure. So having it available to all residents is what seems to make most sense.
Okay. Jamie first, and then over to Doug.
Through your miracles, just to go back to Councillor Shay's comment, I'm not certain if that was a motion that you were putting forward at that time. If yes, I do have something crafted based on your comments. If not, then I will reserve that for later.
Do you mean about the 3-year cycle? I thought the mayor said we were going to introduce a motion and then do it as an amendment, but whichever way works for you.
Well, that's why he's got the title of legislative assistant.
Legislative assistant. Oh, thank
No.
you. Through your miracles, I think procedurally, what would be easiest with this is to, if council wishes to amend the plan right now, I think going through that motion by motion would be most appropriate. And then at the end, we could adopt the climate action plan as amended. So just in terms of ease of process and flow, that would probably be the simplest way of going about it.
All right. Jeffrey, you're looking at putting that forward, the 5 years down to 3 years.
Yes, please.
Okay. And Doug, you were wanting to, Doug too? You'll second that?
So through your miracles, what I have for that then is that in consideration of the staff report, council directs staff to amend the corporate climate action plan to change the reporting period from 5 years to 3 years.
Okay, good. Questions on that? Go ahead. Doug.
Sorry, no, not on that. Another topic.
Sorry, another topic after carrying that amendment. Doug one.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. One thing that kind of concerns me is we're going down this rabbit hole, but this is a rabbit hole that was dug by the previous council. And we're kind of inheriting this, and maybe it doesn't reflect the current council's thoughts and feelings on a lot of things. Is there a climate emergency and so on and so forth? So that's a whole other debate that I know we'll have to get into at some point. With some of the things that are in the plan, Nicole, maybe you can answer these, or Jeff. Like I can see making energy efficient moves when something breaks down, like the furnace in the Centennial Hall in Ayton. It's wore out. So when you upgrade it to something better than what was there before. But are we looking at a plan where we're going to take out stuff that hasn't come to the end of its life cycle yet and replace it with higher dollar stuff that necessarily, yes, it may help the environment, but it's also a cost burden on the taxpayer. So do we really need to make that move at this time? Could that be something in its life cycle when it changes? Because technology and everything is always advancing, and there'll always be a better environmental solution. So would we make that move today? And then there's another move down the road. So those are some of the things that concern me. And another thing that just, it caught my eye in the climate action plan that really to me kind of feeds into some of the discussions that we had this morning when they talk about, people following along and being misled and different things. There's a picture on page 6 of the plan that shows water coming across a roadway. That's on concession 2 of West Gray, Normanby Township, a mile and a quarter from my home. That water probably wouldn't have been coming over the road had the culvert been cleaned out. So it wasn't a climate action to say, oh, we got all this rain and look what happens, roads wash out. There was a cause, there was something happened because of that. That water came over the road because of something else wasn't done. So I realize in a plan like this, it sells what you're selling, but there's always a story behind it too. So I'm a little cautious as to how far down this rabbit hole we go. Thank you.
Okay. And Doug too.
I just had one more question about, it's under strategy 2, installing EV chargers on municipal properties. I know we've done that and that's fine. I'm just curious about and this is maybe directed to our Director of Infrastructure, our building department. At one point we had the building code said that you must put in rough-in electrical hookups for EV chargers in buildings, and then they took it out. So I'm thinking, is that something that we can maybe push for or try to incorporate into our strategy? And I know it's not in the building code right now, but maybe Carl has some more information on that. I don't know if there's any discussion about it coming back.
Carl?
Thank you, through your worship. Yes, Councillor Hutchison, that it was in the building code in 2021, I believe, and it was removed after about a 6-month term. I have no insight into why it was removed. And I have no indication that there are any plans to put it back in. It was also in the Electrical Safety Authority Code and has also been removed from that act as well. So changes to the building code are usually about a 2-year process. So, and haven't seen any or heard anything on the horizon. So it will be at least 2 years before anything new came forward.
Okay, thank you. So maybe that's a question. Sorry, I thought maybe that's a question that we can ask as a delegation. Maybe it's one of our conferences or something, or maybe get some information on that going forward. The other question I had was about the levels. Talks about level 1 and 2 chargers, and I'm curious. I'm not sure if I really understand the difference between a level 1 charger and level 2. Maybe Nicole, do you have some information on that, or enlighten me?
I'm not an expert on chargers. All I know is there is a significant difference in cost in installing them.
And speed, apparently that's the other factor.
Yeah.
Right, speed and what they charge. Right. Okay, so I need to do some research, I guess, to further on that. Thank you.
I'm only aware of one level 3 charger in West Gray. It's not West Gray's, it's a private one at Pebbles in Varney. At the restaurant. That's the level 3 yeah. Level 1 is the 110, level 2 is a 240, but isn't as fast, and level 3 is the fast charging. Yeah, and as far as I know, there's only one in West Gray at this point in time, but a fairly quick charge there. Level 3s are about 40 minutes to an hour, from 20 to 85. Your level 2 is from 25 to 85 is about 6 hours, give or take. Okay. Deputy Mayor. Tom.
Thank you, Mayor Echoes, and welcome, Nicole. And thank you for your report. I apologize if I did not find this, excuse me, but looking at the ball diamonds in the soccer fields, or is that, we haven't converted that to LED. I've lived in 8 and I know that one's not done. I'm not sure about over here in Durham. Is that kind of on the radar to do as well?
At this time, I don't think it's under consideration.
Thank you, Mayor Eccles. So it's something we should think about, I guess is where I was going with, because I know for a fact in Ayton, they certainly aren't. And if we did proceed ahead with that, maybe we should engage a little bit with the community, because I think there's some need for some enhancements to how the lights are set up. Just food for thought. Thank you.
Any other questions before we introduce? Just one that I found interesting. Strategy 6.1, energy efficient retrofits. Ice rinks and community centers such as the Durham District Community Center and the Newstead Arena are strong candidates for initial energy retrofit projects, as they are some of West Gray's largest energy consumers in most used buildings. I'm almost certain we have 3 arenas. Why did we just pick out those 2? There's a couple of pages later in those retrofits, the Norm Bay Community Center is spoken about, but in the initial one, does that mean that the Ayton Arena is already retrofitted and is as energy efficient as absolutely possible?
I believe that would be a typo, Your Worship, as we did LEDs in all 3 community centers this year. And as we make repairs in Ayton, we will absolutely be looking for energy efficient options.
Okay, thanks. It's just, one of those things. We have 3 arenas and only 2 of them are mentioned in different parts. Okay. Thinking that's what it was. Any other questions on climate action plan? One comment, if I could make it from the chair, is that this climate action plan is the corporate action plan. It's not putting any constraints, restraints on private citizens. It's what the municipality corporately we are going to do. My understanding with whether it's in our fleet, whether it's in our buildings, possibly down to our road infrastructure too. Is there a better way than using asphalt or oils? But in the overall aspect of it, it's a good thing to find savings and cost. And certainly one of those is with new lighting options that we have out there, of putting those in place. I think the number one thing is it's more efficient, more effective, and less expense towards. We've seen that with the street lights that we've done and have had the results brought back to us. It's not about, maybe towards Councillor Townsend's, I don't think it's about everything about the climate change, that in the next day we'll do this, 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 and this. It's doing better and doing better of eliminating some of those expensive and costly options that are out there on retrofitting, on replacement, that these are better for our environment. Not as much on climate action, but better for the environment, which certainly is the climate. My thoughts on what this is. Okay, there's no other questions. I would look for a motion to move climate action plan as amended. Is that what we're looking for, Jamie?
Through your miracles, we're looking for a motion to adopt the corporate climate action plan as amended.
Okay. That's the motion. Do I have anyone to move that? Councillor Hutchison, Deputy Mayor Hutchison. Hutch and Hutch. Probably be a very good TV show. I'll take younger. Okay. Any further comments on the motion to adopt the corporate climate action plan? Deputy Mayor,
One real quick comment, Mayor Eccleston. Thank you. Thank you. It's really important that we all understand this is a living document. As things develop and things change, we're gonna have to, like, it's changed in the last year and it changes all the time. So it just it's really important that we all understand it's a living document and we can always go back and make the twitches or the adjustments we need as we go, as things develop. So thank you.
Thank you for that. Any other comments? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Okay. 11.5, community services. Cody. Thank you, Nicole. Jeff? So Cody, you have 2 reports. Yeah. Sorry, Cody, you got 2 reports, one on the programming update. We'll lead off with that one. I believe we got great stuff to tell us. Some good numbers.
Thank you, and through you, good news report to share with council. Just a report for update and information purchases or purposes only. Just sharing our summer programming engagement in which we had just over 2,100 engaged throughout our dryland and aquatics programming. Throughout the report, you'll see we are in the process rather, as we've received some feedback from the community, just preparing for the return of a full municipal summer day camp.
Okay, any questions? That will be an impact on the budget coming up, so we'll see how that goes. Thanks for the warning. Councillor Hutchison, Doug?
Yeah, just for clarification, Cody, the aquatics registered swim program, that's just at the kiddie pool, right? We don't, was that at the dam also? Include the dam? Yes. Yeah.
Through you, yes, that is both programs, both the life-saving lessons held at the Durham wading pool and the life-saving swim lessons held at the Middle Reservoir on the SVCA day use area.
Jeffrey, Councillor Shea.
Thanks for that clarification. What is the aquatics drop-in program, public swim?
That is our daily public swim that we run. So we have 2 public swims that we offer. We do a daily Monday through Friday. It's usually 1:30 to 3:30, so a 2-hour swim. And then Tuesday and Thursday evenings, we do a 6:30 to 7:30 evening swim.
That's at the kiddie pool?
Yeah. Okay. Anything else? Councillor Noon, Joyce?
Thank you, and thank you for your report, Cody. Just inquiring with the camp that you want to develop starting in 2024. Would this be rotated or would it be primary in just one location?
Through you, it would be primarily held in one location. However, given the engagement we had in our other communities, Dayton and Newstead, and given that the Newstead Lions Park is quite a large property that we own, we would look at offering some eco-style camps out there, but we would ultimately see where the numbers lie when we start opening registration. But the plan would be to try and do something out in those communities.
So we're not going to do any programming with Elephant Thoughts?
Through you, there's been various changes with Elephant Thoughts in terms of granting requirements, that sort of thing. So they have now taken over their camp program in totality, but it's now a focused approach just on coding and robotics, and for a targeted age group of 10 to 13, which doesn't serve a majority of the parents we have in the area. So looking at offering our standard municipal day camp to be able to serve all ages and all children of different communities.
So in that thought, not to alarm anybody out there, Elephant Thoughts is probably going to go, so we'll be working in parallel, not necessarily in competition.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else for Cody on that? I need a motion to receive his report. Moved by Councillor Hutchison, seconded by Councillor Forrester. Thank you, Scott. Any other questions on the motion? All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Second one, Cody, EV charger pilot project follow-up.
Thank you, and through you. Very timely report given the delegations this morning. Basically, we are just looking for council direction regarding the EV charging fees, as we've just completed the 6-month pilot project from the final EV charger being installed.
And the recommendations is there. You're looking for direction on amend the parking bylaw to designate that certain spaces, and then the other one is respecting fees. Any questions on that? Tom, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Echoes. I guess one of the questions I have is the bylaw is we're gonna designate the parking spaces in front of these, but how is that gonna be done? We're painting marking with some miraculous color, because I've gone by lots of times. It's like, you see a 350 in front of one, we know full well that's not charging. So I'm just curious how we're gonna handle that.
Green.
Thank you, and through you. At the beginning of the pilot project, we made the decision to not designate. We were installing the EV chargers as EV parking only, as we wanted to review what parking looked like after we installed the chargers. It came out through the pilot project that we truly needed to designate the spaces in front of the EV chargers as EV parking only. So with that, the province has dedicated signage to permit EV charging only. So we would fall to their signage.
Okay, but we'll still be doing some pavement marking of some sort, I'm assuming. And that's the only reason I'm saying that is because I think you might find that your numbers might have been even higher than this, because there was lots of times I went by and there was no hope, and they've been there for several hours that anybody could actually access them for an example. But I appreciate that we're actually going to do something about that, and I'll certainly support this. Thank you.
Okay. Doug one. Councillor Townsend.
With that said, what Deputy Mayor was saying, especially the ones in Newstead, are they in the right place? Is there any chance of relocating them somewhere that it wouldn't create, because parking is a premium in downtown Newstead. So, and I know we want to encourage tourism and all those spin-off things, but is there a better place around the corner from somewhere that might accommodate having the EV chargers plus alleviate parking downtown? I know we moved the one in Ayton from the Centennial Hall up to the arena complex, and yes, that one needs signage too. I've seen a lot of parking there in front of that one, but the ones in Newstead downtown are definitely, I think, an issue.
Thoughts, Cody?
The charging locations were determined through consultation between the municipality and local tourism organizations. So the ones in Newstead were identified for the tourism potential. The charger was never installed at the Ayton Centennial Hall. When we investigated the electricity capacity over at that hall. It would have been significant upgrades well above and beyond what the grant project would have covered. So we made the decision to move it to the arena in terms of cost savings. But that was the second location identified by through the tourism groups.
Go ahead.
Just if I can follow up on that. So, and I guess my thought, and not being part of the process, my thought of the one in Newstead, it was put where it was because it's out in front of the library. Do we want them attached to or close to a municipal property? Is that the goal here?
Through you, yes, that's correct. Both in terms of ownership of the lands as well as hydro connectivity, placing them within close proximity to municipal properties significantly lessens the cost of install.
Go ahead, Doug. Councillor.
Yeah, I had also made a note about the one in Newstead, and I wondered, each charging station has two setups. Like, can they be split? Like, can you have one there and move one to another location? Like, I'm just curious about. I'm just worried about the two parking spaces, which are really, as Doug has mentioned, is a busy spot downtown. Like, so even if one could be moved further south on Main Street. But is it possible to split those chargers up, sort of thing?
Go ahead, Cody.
Through you, I know you're able to purchase single pedestal units, I'll say, so just a single charger on one pedestal. I'm not sure if they can currently be split, but also with that being said, you would be looking at significant reinstallation costs to move the charger.
Well, I guess that was my concern. It's taking up two prime spots, and as people they're going to park where they're going to park, it seems like, unless we enforce it. So, anyways, that's maybe something to look at in the future. The other thing, I guess we haven't really got into it, but the costing thing. I was going to suggest that we do charge a minimum of $5 per charge, which is under the financial thing. Just because we need to recoup some costs. It's $368 per charge right now, plus the overall cost to run the program. So I didn't think $5 would be too much of an issue for those people that can afford to have an electric vehicle. Maybe $5 is not a big deal compared to $75 at the gas station. But I know it's an incentive to have it free. But I think somewhere along the line, we have to recover some costs. So that would be my suggestion.
Councillor Noon.
Thank you. And a follow up with the fees. How would you implement collecting that? Would it be like the old parking meter kind of setup? And $5 is probably, unless they take bills, but maybe $4 because 2 toonies or 4 loonies, whatever. But I was just wondering how you would recoup those costs. I'm in favor of the fees. Thank you.
Everything's plastic these days, Joyce. Cody.
Thank you. And through you, Flow manages all of the collection of fees, and we'll disperse them to the municipality once tax and such is taken off. But fees are collected digitally. So individuals accessing the charger either use an app or call in, and they would use credit, debit, as Mayor Eccles had said, plastic basically to pay for charging.
If I can follow up on that, so are they, I don't have a card like that, but do you use a card there, debit card, read on, like on a pad, is that what how do you do that?
So it's through an app on your phone, typically is what most users do, or you can call in and key in the digits that are on the charger themselves.
Okay, I have seen that one there, a couple that I've stopped by. I guess my curiosity is there a fee that's associated with like a user fee for our end? Because if so, we need to increase ours, because if the cost to use that exceeds what we're going to be billing out, similar to what you do at the airport, for example, there's a cost for every time they do that. It's substantial when it adds up over the user. So I'd be curious if there's a charge, so what that is, and if there is a charge, we need to increase that hourly charge or that usage. Thank you.
So the only user fee that we pay currently is the flow network connectivity, which is included in the estimated cost per charge. So there's no additional fee beyond that.
So there's no charge for me to call in or use that app to access that. There's no charge to the municipality as a provider of it, if you will. It goes to a third party altogether, and we don't get any charge back. I guess it's kind of where my brain is on that one.
Correct. We pay just a single annual fee for all the chargers, and then everything is.
Okay, Jeffrey, Councillor Shea.
So you seem to be suggesting that other municipalities are primarily using a format of free for a permitted parking time, then costs ranging from $2 to $3 an hour. So a permitted parking time would be something like 2 hours. I just want to move the recommendation that we want, or we're not looking for a motion today. Oh, okay.
Through you, Mayor Uncles, yes, my understanding is that staff are seeking direction on how to proceed with EV charging, so we would need some sort of direction at this meeting.
So I would move what I think you're suggesting, which is something like free for 2 hours and then a $3 hourly rate after that. Is that, am I reading between the lines correctly?
There is no suggestion. However, that is commonly what a lot of municipalities do. We've made the decision to allow council to make that decision.
Well, I would, huh? We've allowed council to make the decision on what they're going to charge.
I'll make that motion, and it can be, people can debate it. And I also wanted to introduce the idea that, while Jamie's typing, that how often does the Newstat site get 2 cars charging at the same time? And if it's not that often, why don't we make one of the spots no parking and leave the other one as a mixed use spot?
Through you, it's not very often that Newstead saw 2 charges happening at the same time. However, with that being said, that charger, we consistently received feedback from EV users that one, if not both spots, were consistently blocked by the same vehicle most of the time.
And I will let the little elephant out of the room. Yes, I have an EV. And for that reason, I was coming home one day and I needed to charge. I was in Hairston and I was getting down a little bit. So I'm going to have to charge either in Newstead or Ayton. And I'm in Hairston. I went to Ayton because that Newstead one is consistently somebody's parking there. My thoughts are, is it possible to even move it right off the street and put it behind the library? Signage would then say where the flow was and have it designated right there behind the library. And we have a parking spaces there, do we not? If I'm not mistaken.
Through you, I would have to confirm parking availability behind the library, but I don't believe there is much parking there.
There's not enough to get it there, Scott?
I believe there's only one spot behind the library.
EV cars don't take up a lot. Maybe we could just, no. It was a thought to get around that. Because I have one noticing where they are and whatnot, that seems to be putting them off, not in the prime location. You'll find parking places where it is absolutely restricted. These are EV parking spaces, but they're sometimes just off of the street or down in the corner where our one is at the Riverside parking. And if you've got 2 vehicles parked in there that none of them are charging, you just drive around in the back and on the grass. I've seen some people do that. when they were charging there. Joyce?
It's just another suggestion where if you were to move it, but Barbara Street's street off Main Street in Newstead. So you could just, have signage that, that the electric charger is just off that street there. Just a recommendation.
Yeah. And I'm not sure the other aspect, if it gets into the fact of where do you have the electricity, where do you have it coming from? I'm pretty sure it's coming out of the library right at the present moment. That's where some of the factor comes into it. Anyways, what have we got for a motion here?
Through Mayor Eccles, just seeking some clarity from Councillor Shea. So was your intent to move the entire recommendation with the first part being directing staff to bring forward a bylaw to amend the parking bylaw as well, or just providing direction for the fee for charging? I'll say both. Thank you. And then further to that, sorry, I missed the fee that you had specified. So what I had is implement per hour graduated charging fees, with the first 2 hours being free and each hour thereafter being, was it $2 per hour or $3 per hour? Thank you. So the motion then is that in consideration of staff report, community services, EV charger pilot project follow-up, council direct staff to 1, bring forward a bylaw to amend the parking bylaw to designate certain parking spaces as EV parking spaces. 2, implement per hour graduated charging fees, with the first 2 hours being free and each hour thereafter being $3 per hour. And 3, bring forward a bylaw to amend the fees and charges bylaw to add EV charging.
Okay. Jeffrey's moved that. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Hutchison. Okay, comment, Doug.
I think the statement was made that 5 to 6 hours is a standard charge with our using the charges we have. Is that correct?
From a personal standpoint, using the chargers probably less than 2 hours. I wouldn't fully charge for the most part. I think I'm speaking for EV drivers. You would pull up there maybe an hour, maybe an hour and a half, just to give you that little boost to get home to charge. I don't know. There's somebody sitting to my right that may be doing the same type of thing. Maybe he's got an opinion on what it would be, but his lips are sealed. He's not going to say it. Jamie drives one too.
So
anyways, yeah, I doubt if you would have more than 2 hours, somebody charging that.
So at that rate, we're probably not recouping much cost if people would use the first 2 hours probably and then drive on. So we're not recouping any cost, which is fine. I mean, if we're promoting tourism and people making the change, that's fine. The other thing I wanted to mention is maybe what we want to investigate. I think we have a chunk of municipal property on the west side of Newstead Main Street. There's a little section of parking in there, I believe. So maybe that's a place to do it. I don't know about, and why can't we use hydro off the street poles, only the street light poles, except for they're on the east side rather than the west side. Right.
Yeah.
But I think there is a
Some
strip of
complications.
parking that we own, and there's a strip of land that we own on the west side. Anyways, just not for information.
It's not necessary whether we own it or rent that. I can't remember exactly whether that was ever purchased or not. But yeah, you're right. There is a public parking right across the street from where the EV is right at the present moment. Or sorry, the charger where it is. Anyway, so motion is on the floor. And any further questions, Tom?
I will make this my final one. Thanks, Mayor Eccles. So I'm clear. So 2 hours, no charge, and then we start charging. So one of the things is in my back of my mind, how are we going to determine how long they've been there, which will never happen. And 2 is, if somebody is down there, they're parked for an hour, hour and a half. The ones that do need the charge, if somebody's parked there, but they're not hooked up, they're just parked as an EV vehicle, they're not charging. Are we doing the right thing here? Should it be right from the get-go that they're parking? Because the whole idea is to in my opinion, is to get the traffic downtown and keep it there and let them shop naturally. But people should be charging right from when they park it. It's not just another parking spot. I think I don't understand that part of it. If you could help me with it, please.
Go ahead.
If I may, I can't really speak to the motion on the floor currently. But the chargers have extensive tracking. So the minute somebody's plugged in and active, we receive notification and the clock starts ticking. We were able to see how long somebody was charging down to the millisecond. So we have extensive tracking and the system manages itself in terms of being able to charge following the 2-hour mark.
And I can say that parking is for EV charging. If bylaw is written up right.
Thank you.
If you're just parked there, you're just you're just another car that's parked there. But if you're, so we've seen it in a number of places. This parking for EV charging only. When you research it, it goes, yeah, if you're just parking there, you're looked at as another car. And, oh, the police chief's left. So, yeah, his would be giving you a parking ticket for parking in there. Jamie?
3 miracles. And further to that, the provincial government did introduce legislation in 2019 that prohibited non-electric vehicles from parking in electric vehicle charging or electric vehicle spots, if you will, provided that the municipality does have something in their bylaws. So they've also regulated the fines with that as well. So if a spot is designated as an EV charging spot, in order to not be in contravention of the legislation, the EV must be plugged in. So if the EV is parked there and it's not plugged in, then that owner would be subject to a $125 fine. Same goes for a non-EV or hybrid vehicle being parked there. They would be subject to that fine as well.
Any further questions on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Thank you, Cody. I think we're just about there. Yeah. We're down to fire services. Just let you know there, Phil, you're probably the last report. We've got a couple of bylaws, but they're going to be quick. So you're the last report between us and lunch here. Yeah, just. Oh, really? Nice. Yeah. Well, some of us. Thank you, Chief Schwartz, for coming in, and you have a report on a fire truck replacement. I'll let you go on that. Floor is yours, sir.
So thank you. Seems a little premature for me to be here because the truck isn't due to be replaced till 2025, which is just a little over a year and a half away. The issue has been the supply chain and getting things. Right now, if you're getting a truck built, you're looking at a year to a year and a half to get delivery. There are demo units out there, but in order to get a demo unit, you need to find one, and then you'll want to add a lot of stuff to it, which puts the price up on the truck. I'll give you some examples of supply chain. We have a rescue in Newstead that broke down in June. We just got it back on the road last week. It's been down 3 months. Our rail truck right now is sitting in Toronto. It has a little issue. We ordered parts back 1st of August. The parts have finally come in, so that truck is sitting down there getting repaired. Yesterday, we pulled the tanker and 8 out, and we've had some issues with the air dryer. We're waiting for parts for it. The air dryer finally blew on it yesterday, so I told them go put a brand new one on. I'm not playing around with it anymore. And then I get back to Durham, and they've been trying for 3 days to get into a compartment door that's the latch is broke inside the panel of the door on a compartment. I took the Sawzall to it yesterday, so the compartment door is open now. So anyways, getting parts has been a big issue. So anyways, this truck is due 2025. I'd like to see if council would be willing to get it ordered now for a 2025 delivery so we can get a build number on the line. I sent out RFPs in June at the Chiefs Conference. Out of them, I got, I believe, 3 companies that came back with yeah, 3 companies, 4 companies before he came back. Fort Garry Commercial, Dependable, and Rosenbauer sent in 4 RFPs back to us on different stuff they had. The truck that we put into Newstead 2 years ago, pre-COVID, that truck, when I had it built to the same specs we had for the one that is in Durham that we want to replace right now. And that truck that we got from Fort Garry seems to have worked out very well. So the truck that we've spec'd out this time is identical to that one, except for that one in Newstead's got outside ladder storage. We're trying to get the ladders inside a compartment. So they've come up with that for us. On page 3, the pricings there of what the trucks are. The idea is that the new truck goes into Durham. The present truck that's in Durham right now will go to Ayton as our backup pumper. And the truck that is in Ayton right now, the 1995, it will be retired. It's up 30, it'll be 30 years old then. Under NFPA, their recommendations are you replace your pumper every 15 years. In a municipality like ours, we're averaging 180 calls a year. I can't justify replacing a truck at 15 years, so we've been stretching them out. And this goes back before I was chief. We've been trying 20 years, and it seems to work for us. Once they get to the 25-year mark, you lose the insurance rating on the truck, so it no longer helps with your insurance. And so we keep one truck back for the simple reason we have breakdowns. And at the 30-year mark, we've been dumping those trucks, so it works out. The report's here. I hope everybody's had time to read it. If there's any questions I can answer, you can go ahead and answer or ask me, and I'll try to answer them best I can.
Okay. Councillor Noon, Joyce.
Thank you for your report. One question, which one would you recommend? And the one that you're basically getting rid of, would there be any value that you'd be able to recoup to help offset some of the costs for the new one?
That's the problem because, sorry, through you, Mayor. The one I'm recommending is Fort Garry out of Winnipeg, Canadian built truck. It would be on a Freightliner chassis. Where most of our trucks are Freightliners now, and other than, it doesn't matter what truck you have when you're looking for parts right now, it seems to be a hard thing when you have a breakdown. The value of the truck in Ayton truck that we want to retire is in very good shape. It's got a CAF system on that's a compressed air foam system. It may bring good price at auction, or if we were to sell to somebody like there are companies out there that deal strictly in used fire trucks. We might get as much as 30,000 for it, but I don't think you'll get much more than that. So.
Doug one. Mr. Townsend, you're Doug 2. Yep, 1, 2.
Just a question for you, Chief, and just trying to understand the shell game with the trucks or moving the trucks around. Why would the new truck not go into Ayton? You're going to put the new truck into Durham, move your truck over to Ayton. Is it because of size of fire area, number of calls? What?
Ayton's first line pumper was replaced in 2017. So they have an up-to-date pumper there now. Yeah, so the pumper that we want to purchase will be our first line pumper in Durham. And then that pumper will go down, replace the old 95 because it's a 2005, so it's 10 years newer. And then we carry on. Right now, the Ayton pumper, so far this summer, it has sat, the backup pumper, just so you know, has sat in Newstead for 3 months and is now sitting in Durham, taking the place of the aerial, because for this factory here, I need 2 pumpers right off the bat if we ever get a call there.
Councillor Hutchison, two.
Thank you. Yes, Chief, just thinking about budget, what's the budget look like in terms of this truck going forward? Do we have 600,000 in reserve by any chance?
No, we don't. What we've done with our last, I'm going to say our last 6 trucks, we've debentured them. So we debentured them over 5 to 10 years. And right now we have 2 trucks debentured, the one in Ayton and the one in Newstead. The one in Ayton is due to come out of debenture in 2025. So we hope to roll that back over into this truck. We do have a small reserve, and I neglected to ask Carrie what we have, but it wouldn't be any more than 150,000 in there right now. And that might be a little high because we have used it like for pickups and other things we get. So we do put 30,000 a year away into that reserve, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when it comes time for a down payment or something, you've got something there to throw at it.
Yeah, so thank you for that. So I guess if we found a few 100,000 kicking around in budget that we don't need, we could put it into reserve for fire truck, but maybe that's not going to happen. We'll see.
Okay, I'm going to go to Tom and then Joyce. Oh, go ahead, Joyce. Defer.
Just to follow up with Doug's question. So would you have to put the whole amount down if you were to purchase, or just a down payment at this time?
No, generally what we do is we put the order in, and when they get the chassis, some companies want the money up front when the chassis arrives at their plant. Fort Garry didn't last time. They waited till the truck was delivered, then we handed them a check for the full amount. The other problem is the truck we bought for Newstead, I believe, was, I'm going to say 460,000. And that was pre-COVID when we bought it. And since COVID, the things have, like that same truck today is so the price is in here, what you see it sitting at. Yep. That's before taxes. So that's the problem. And I don't know, it's just, this COVID thing's really screwed up a lot of things. I'm sorry, but.
So you're taking full responsibility for COVID-19, are you?
I'm not a COVID, but I don't buy into it, but I just do what I'm supposed to do.
Okay. Jeffrey, Councillor Shea.
So I would move the recommendation.
Okay. Councillor Townsend, second it. Further questions? Tom? No, sorry. Yep. I could have one quick question. In your report on page 2, Phil, in the second last paragraph, our present tanker accreditation has our insurance rating set high at the commercial level for water supply. Turn your mic on. I just want to hear this. Turn your mic on. I want to hear this.
Sorry, Mike. Through you to you. I always say don't come to council any more than I have to, right? So every 5 years, we started this back in the early 2000s. We do a tanker shuttle accreditation with FUS, Fire Under Readiness Survey. And that gives a cut rate on fire insurance to people that live within a certain distance. I think it's 8.5 kilometers from the closest fire station. So we have to haul at the residential rate, we have to haul pump 125 gallons per minute for 3 hours nonstop. If we run out of water, we fail. This past test we did, which was, I want to say it's a year ago, it might be 2 years ago now. Is it 2? We actually achieved the commercial rate for fighting. So it's, instead of 125, it's 250 gallons a minute. So that gives us a better rating with the fire underwriter survey. So when the mayor goes to get his fire insurance, they look up and they say, oh, yeah, you got this rating in your municipality. You're within so many kilometers of the fire station, you get a cut rate on your fire insurance. And we were able to do, we used 6 tankers at the time of the test. So we were able to certify our own 3 stations. I can't remember, I think we had Ellenwood there as well. And we also did Mount Forest. Hanover also came down to help, but they were already certified. They certified up at the Morrow Lake a few years before, which we went up and helped them with that too. And before they used to only do the station that was certifying, but now they'll do multiple stations at the same time. And that's what they did with us.
Okay, thank you. Just, and it was just the way it's written there, insurance rating high. And when you see that the insurance rate high, yeah, it's not. I just wanted you to clarify that. Yeah, so that anybody out there, thank you for that clarification. And yeah, it's great the way that the individual services work back and forth together to keep our community safe. Anyways, the motion is on the floor, moved and seconded to go with this. Second question that I had, you've mentioned that there's 2 trucks that we have there, 2 payments that we're having. When you combine those 2, they'll probably cover the payment for this truck going forward.
And you better ask Carrie that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, the one, as I say, that the 8 truck, by the time we roll this over, it should be paid off.
It'll be paid off. I'm thinking that I know the answer to that one, and yeah, so it's not going to affect too much. Now we'll find out who's correct and who's not. Hello, Carrie.
Hello.
Take a look at the screen.
Yes, we've got 2 trucks, the Ayton and Newstead. They will be coming off of their loan repayments. So we will switch those over by 2025 into the same amount. We will use some of the reserves to lower our borrowing amount, but that loan principal and interest payback is already built into the budget for 2025 because those will be coming off of their loans.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. And it was something that I believe prior councils, we started a number of years ago when it was on rolling lease, that it's already in there. It's not going to have an effect on the overall fire budget. Those payments are in there, and they're in there on an annual basis. Great. Thank you, Carrie, for that confirmation. The motion is on the floor. Further? All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, that means you can buy us all lunch. Just got a new fire truck, chief. From now until the fire truck's delivered, you're buying us lunch. Okay, thank you, Phil. Great. Questions? Is there any questions from any members of council at this point in time? Good, seeing none. Bylaws, we have 2 bylaws. Bylaw number 2023-113, confirming the proceedings. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Noon, seconded by Deputy Mayor Hutchison. Questions? All those in favor? Any opposed? Carried. Second one is bylaw 2023-114, zoning amendment for Wright. And this was recommended from the Committee of Adjustment, is it not? Or past council meeting through the public process. Thank you. Bylaws here and prepared. Do I have a mover and a seconder for that? Moved by Councillor Townsend, seconded by Councillor Forrester. And any questions on that bylaw? Call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. New business. Where do we need any new business? Announcements. Go ahead, Councillor Townsend. Doug?
Great. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yesterday, I attended the Southwestern Ontario Isotope Coalition meeting in Owen Sound. It was very well put together. They have some tremendous plans. They have, there's a tremendous opportunity for this area. The way it was delivered for, for jobs, for spin-off jobs, for a lot of different things going on with isotopes because of our proximity to the Bruce Nuclear and the supply thereof. And but one thing they were really driving home, and they had speakers from the different companies. They also had speakers from economic development, but a lot of the context, I guess, of the conversation was, if we come together regionally, we can do this. If we try and do it in individual silos, individual municipalities, we'll never get the ear of anybody. So it's a regional thing, and they're even looking at Grey, Bruce, and Huron to kind of drive this isotope research and set up at the Bruce with Georgian College doing, training. Bright Shores, is that what it's called? Bright Shores. They're looking at opening up a research arm of their facility to entice research people to come up and set up shop up there. So there's a lot of potential growth for the overall area. It was very well attended by Bruce and Grey County municipal people, and something to look at in the future and to keep our ear to the ground if something's happening on that front. Thanks.
Thank you, Nick. That update. Anyone else? Scott, Councillor Forster.
All right, just upcoming events. Newstead Craft Show will be Saturday, November 4th, 9:30 to 4 at the Newstead Arena and the Community Center. And the Newstead Lions have the Sauerkraut Supper on Sunday, November the 5th at the arena.
It's always a great time. Anything else? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Echols, and I will do a shout out to the Durham Hospital Foundation for the gala on this past Saturday. They did achieve their goal of 90. Obviously, they exceeded that $90,000. So kudos to all the everyone supported that. Mayor Echols and I were there. I don't believe any of the other council members were, but it was always a good time. It's good band, good times, and it's good to see that the community can still rally together and raise that kind of money. The other thing that I know is that actually the T-Cats start this Saturday. Their home openers this Saturday, and senior hockey is now going to be pretty much weekly. And I think that's all I have to report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Hutchison. Doug?
Just a couple announcements, I guess. This Thursday, Southeast Grey Chamber Awards are happening at the, I think at the arena.
Yes.
Community Center, 5:30. And on Friday, some of us are going to a housing forum in Meaford regarding ideas for housing at the, I think it's pushed through, it's through the county that's it's happening, is it not? Through the county level?
Yep.
But you were to sign up for that if you wish to go. That's 10 a.m. Yeah, and then I guess the other thing coming up October 22nd is Newstead Brewery. I think I got the right date on that. Oktoberfest, 2 o'clock on Sunday, October 22nd. We're having a bit of an Oktoberfest. So that's all for me.
Very good. Thank you. Anyone else? One announcement. Councillor Deputy Mayor Hutchison and myself were at County Council last Thursday. One of the things that was interesting at County Council was that Darlene Lamberti, Executive Director of the Markdale Hospital Foundation, was there. Gave an opportunity for Grey County to be part of their donation, have the naming rights to the emergency. So our emergency department, I think it is, or the emergency ward, was offered to Grey County as part of the recognition. And Grey County Council took them up on that offer. So there's going to be a plaque made up that how it's done. Following that, I was in, Ms. Lamberti contacted myself and has made the same offer to West Grey, not for the emergency, but the naming, as we were significant contributors to the hospital. And so we have that. So just kind of an announcement that it's coming up. It doesn't have a financial attachment to it, other than us continuing to meet our commitment of what has been committed. And with that, there was two different options. Digital imaging was one, and I'm sorry, I don't have it right here in front of me. The digital imaging was one, and something else in the emergency department as well too, would be for naming. And she wondered if council would be in favor of taking them up on that offer. So procedurally, Mr. Clerk, Legislative Services person.
Through you, Mayor Eccles, those correspondents are coming forward at our next council meeting for council's direction.
Very good. Okay. So that is one thing that's going to be there for us to take a look at, and looking for decision on that. But very good. The Markdale Hospital has received rave reviews from anybody that's been able to get in through the doors. Quite a building, I would say, to deliver health services. So hopefully they can have the professionals there to deliver those health services as well too. It's great to have the building. We need to be in operation as well. Other than that, no, I think everything else has been said. So no other announcements. There's no report for closed session or reason for closed session. With everything on the agenda done, I'll declare the meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.